microphone situated here and on. I hope everybody can hear me. TransTrem Thursday. Welcome in, everybody. I am excited about this show. We have got a lot to talk about on TransTrems tonight. And yeah, I can't wait. Let's get to it. Let me see. We've got a bunch of people in the chat here. And we got a bunch of people, I think, that are at the door. Yep. They keep ringing the bell. Everybody's wanting in. Let's see who we got. We have, as usual, Mr. R2R3. Welcome in, buddy.
Whoa!
How are you this evening?
I'm well, man. How are you?
Good. Well, look at you. You got the headphones and the microphone all set up. You sound great.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
Keep isolated here from all the madness that's going around my house.
Right? Yeah. Keep the background level down a little bit. Very cool. Very cool. So, what's been going on for you today?
Nothing much, man. Another day at work. Glad to get that over with, and took a nice nap. I'm looking forward to the show. I had a dream that I overslept. Seriously, I woke up. I'm like, what?
Nope.
I missed the show.
Right on time. Did you bring your TransTrem guitar though?
Yeah, it's right over here.
Is it? Let's see.
It's got a.
Come on now. Goodness.
Come on. I would love to own. That's right. I'd love to own one of those, man. That'd be great.
Yeah, man. Yep. Gonna have to get another one for the YouTubers and on the show for TransTrem Thursday.
But I know tonight we have a special night.
We do.
I
think that we have. Oh, there he is. He's here. Let's get him in here. We have a very special guest tonight. We have Mr. Rob 5150. What's going on, Rob? Welcome in. It's good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you for the invite, Ryan. It's
absolutely
great.
Well, I tell you that, for a long time, I've seen your stuff on YouTube. I've watched your videos. I saw that you had a GL2. I was like, man, I'm so jealous of this dude. I got to get me one of these. And finally I was able to, and it's nice to have you on the show to kind of share the love for the TransTrem stuff. I think that, the only TransTrem videos that I've seen or that people doing it are now in this stream here tonight. So it's pretty cool. There's a couple others that I've seen that have shown just some little stuff, but nothing like what we've been doing. So hoping to kind of spread the word and the love for the TransTrem. So we'll be talking quite a bit about that tonight for sure.
That's cool. That's great. And R2, it's great to see. I know he's back in the Johnny Bean days when Johnny and Dave Nesdahl, rest in peace, buddy. When we started doing those shows, or when I joined, I mean, they were doing a little bit longer than me, but I joined them back in 2015, end of 15. And gosh, I remember R2, R3 popping in, and yes, it was great. You've hung in there the whole time, buddy. So it's great to see you.
Yeah, I've been watching you guys since 2016, man. I remember just looking up.
I'm sorry.
Love it.
Speaking of Johnny, I talked to him just a little bit, a few minutes before we went live, and he said to tell everybody hello. I'd asked him to stop by and just say hey for a minute, but he was unable, so he wanted me to tell everybody hello. So everybody in the chat, Johnny says hello.
Yeah, I know. Hey, do you mind if I do a quick intro of three people that want to make a quick drive-by? Come on down, you three. Like you are too. I have a little bit of chaos going on upstairs, and we had a massive snowstorm. So they had 3.5 feet. My girlfriend and her 2 kids have been staying with me the last couple of days. They had 3.5 feet of snow. So I had to basically go up and rescue them yesterday and traipse through about literally a mile through 3.5 feet of snow to pick them up from their house. They were totally cut off. And so they come down, make a little appearance. So
right on.
So come here, Darby. So this is Darby.
Hello, Darby.
You say hi.
Nice to meet you.
Hi. Yeah. All right.
That's
and
awesome.
This is Grayson.
Hello, Grayson.
Hello.
Yeah, he likes all that guitar stuff too.
Yeah.
And then this,
You guys are all warm and out of the snow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the power's back.
Yeah.
Nice.
Cool.
And then this little guy, I think everybody knows who Barney is.
Barney.
World famous.
What's up, Barney?
And he's so cute. He's the most cutest thing in the world.
Yeah, he's pretty. Yeah. And then this is
I always want to squeeze Barney.
I know, and this is my lady Jessie.
Hi.
Hello, Jesse.
there.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
She's definitely not my boyfriend.
No.
And that's just something I don't know about. Which you never know these days. It could be something serious.
Hello.
Yeah. Well, nice to meet everybody, and
Meet you all.
I'm assuming that they put up with all the noise that you make with all the amps that you got back there.
Well, pretty soon I'll be living with her, so they're going to be putting up with it in their own
I
house.
want to
So.
see what it looks like.
They love it.
Cool.
They love it. They love it.
Awesome.
She's also going to be my personal bartender tonight. She'll be bringing me
Yeah.
drinks
Oh, sweet.
Oh,
when my solo cup is the classic.
Nice.
This is the classic solo.
yeah,
cup.
I remember that.
Yeah, when that kit's empty.
Right?
All right.
Awesome.
Well, it's good to meet everybody.
Great to meet everyone.
We have another special guest tonight, but they've disappeared, so we'll have to wait to see if they come back. I guess they're having some technical difficulty, but we'll go ahead and we'll carry on.
Yeah. Bye, guys. Have a good night. Yeah, I think they were having some technical difficulty. Hopefully that works out.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see them come back in. So let me scroll up here to the top, and we'll just say hello to everybody
Who's
in the chat.
Sorry to ignore everyone here.
Nah, we have Graphite and Cigars. He was first in. He was waiting on a friend. Well, now hopefully you got at least, how many? 20? 22?
Got a couple
22
friends.
friends in? Yeah. R2R3 in the chat as well.
I know that.
Fruitcake Tony, good to see you in, dude.
Tony, what's going on, buddy? Glad you're feeling good, buddy.
Dan Gorman, nice to see you. Welcome.
See you,
And
Dan.
Patty Dill.
Hi,
Always
Patty.
good to see Patty. Appreciate you coming,
Oh,
Patty.
yeah. You got
Let's
something
see.
from Patty, too.
I did.
Patty sent this to me.
Whoa, that's awesome.
Thank you, Patty.
Let me.
Open the blast doors.
Open the blast doors.
There we go. Little story behind that, Rob, in case you don't know.
I can't wait to hear it.
Robbie, whenever he goes on the show with me or Johnny or whoever, sometimes his phone starts to compress, and it makes him sound like he's, on the on one of the Imperial, Star Destroyers in a helmet. And
That's great.
so everybody teases that he's open the blast doors. So that's where that comes from. Yeah,
That's awesome. That's great.
I had mine down here somewhere. I forget where I put them, but Patty sent me some of those as well. So thank you very much, Patty.
It's awesome.
We have Tim Thomas. Welcome in, Tim. Good to see you.
What's up, brother?
Thomas Santiago. Welcome to the chat.
Thomas.
Six Fingered Assault. Welcome in, man.
Miles.
Watched your video on your rundown today. Your wet, dry, wet, man. That looks awesome. I so am jealous of that board that you've got. I need to get me something like that so I can finalize my VH1 sound as well. Very, very cool stuff. Let's see. Janice is in the house. Welcome in, Janice.
Janice.
Janice, I saw the show the other night that these guys did, and they were getting a little bit out of line, and you called them on it, and you know what I'm talking about, right? I forget what the comment was, but you guys were saying something, and Ryan goes, Janice, they set me up. I had nothing I could.
Yep. She watches over, man. So
Yes,
she's
sir.
on it.
She is.
Welcome in, Rob Blackmore official. Good
What's
to see
up,
you.
bro?
Good to see you. Let's see who else. Guitar Man 45. Welcome in. Good to see you again.
See you.
Let's see. Scrolling down. Dan Gorman is in. Welcome, Dan. Good to see you, brother. Let's see. Anybody else?
You got Kurt.
I see Kurt 5150 over here. What's up, man?
What's
How's
up,
it
my
going,
good
Kurt?
friend Kurt?
Here we go. Got Bocephus mode. Welcome in, brother.
Always.
We got Lars Guitars, new face. Welcome into the channel.
Lars,
Good to
what's
see
up,
you.
brother?
Lars. I think Lars watched my show. Kurt and I did a couple weeks ago, I think.
Awesome. Well, welcome in.
Yeah.
Long time.
Good to have you here. ET5150 is here. Welcome in.
What's up?
Mr. Mick, good to see you again. Welcome to the
Mick.
chat. There he is, Kurt 5150. What's going on, dude?
He's here to see Rob Johnson.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. And so far, that's who we've got. Anybody popping in new if you guys catch him?
Mike Olson.
Mike Olson.
What's up, brother?
Welcome in, Mike. So I see that you've got your GL2T there, raring to go.
Yeah, I do. I'm not going to sound as good as Ryan because he's got his rig mic'd up, and I also have a pretty sweet wet dry wet system, and it sounds absolutely insane. But I don't have it mic'd up and set to my computer because I'm probably the least technical person, the least technical 49, 50-year-old there is. Now I'm getting. Ryan's going to help me do that when I get ready. But yes, I have my GL2T right here.
Very nice.
This is this is probably my absolute favorite guitars. It's got quite a story behind it. A lot of you folks might remember, but yeah, she's really a lot of fun. It's I agree with Ryan. It's almost easier to play it with a strap, because when you play with that little leg, it's kind of hard. They're fun though.
Yeah, very cool, dude. Yeah, you start to compress probably 7-8 seconds in, but we can still hear what you're doing. Sounds good.
Sounds good, man.
I think when I play, I'm gonna do the condensed version.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your wet rig. What have you got going on there?
I'd actually take the computer, but I it's funny, Ryan, I was actually watching. Ryan and I just met maybe a couple weeks ago, bud. Officially, kind of like through messaging or whatever.
Yep.
And it's funny. I'll get to the wet dry wet real quick, but I was watching YouTube, and I'm always going through and looking at what people put out and new stuff, and because I'm just so intrigued by all this stuff, even after all these years. And I see this guy OU812, and I'm like, cool. And I'm watching some of the video. I'm like, whoa, listen to that sound. He's running a wet dry wet rig, and I'm looking. He's got a Steinberger. Damn, this guy is like badass. So I'm looking at his videos and everything, and of course, playing is incredible. And I watched. You're welcome. I watched a rig rundown you did. I don't think it was too long ago, and you're running EVH stuff, and it's great. And Ryan, I'm just, for the folks out there, I'm sure everybody knows, because they've seen his stuff. He's the real deal. He's got the real setup right there. That's about as badass as you can get. My rig has changed a lot over the years. I've more or less, as everybody knows, I've focused on the guitar end of things, mostly with the replicas and trying to make them as accurate as I can. And I'm always working on stuff, but also, I've always wanted to have a good, good sounding rig. So I've been running 5150s, from combos to heads to EVH to, some other stuff. Hey, Keith, what's up, buddy? How you doing,
Keith?
Keith, by the way, great show. I was talking to Donnie Ward today. That was an awesome show you guys did with Lynn Ellsworth. That was great.
That was awesome. Yeah.
Just some great information and a lot of confirmations, and good job. But I like this right now. What you guys just heard is actually a THR 10X, and I got an EVH wet dry wet patch on it, which sounds actually pretty good. I know it doesn't sound great on the computer, but on my main rig, what I've been running for the last, I think, year. I actually just switched over. I got a PV5152 120 watt head. I love that head. I've always wanted the two. I've had the first one, and I liked that, and I sold it years ago. And then I was running a little 50 watt. I shouldn't say a little. The EVH, 50 watt head, just a basic 5153, and that's a badass little head. And I just switched over to the PV5152 because Craig Stofko from CHS Custom Guitar is a good friend of mine.
Craig.
Yeah, Craig.
I watched him years ago as Guitar Wannabe, and I was just always amazed at his licks and his chops, and very, very cool dude.
Remember the videos of him, Ryan, back
20
years ago, sitting up in his little attic area? He's got a different setup now. He only lives about 2 hours from me, so I go down and visit. He was just here a few weeks ago at my rig, but he set that up, and I love the 5152. But what I'm doing for my wet dry wet is the 5152. I'm running a dry 2x12 in the middle, and then I'm running three VH cabs, a dry 2x12 in the middle, and two wet 2x12s on the outside. And I'm running an Eventide time factor.
Okay.
Two separate delays, and I forget exactly what the setting is, but it's it's the ping pong effect. So I think it's the left side's like pup pup pup, on the right side is pup pup pup. So you get that ping delay.
Yeah.
And I'm running an Eventide pitch factor.
Very
so
cool.
I'm running that. I'm running the micro pitch setting, and I'm running 9 cents positive on the left and 9 cents negative on the right, and that gives me that big, huge stereo separation.
Yep.
And then, so those are basically going to the two wet cabs, the left and the right, and that, obviously the middle is dry. And I'm running a PV IPA 2000 power amp, and that's what's powering the two wet cabs. And then through the back of the Eventide stuff, I'm actually running a Bray box.
Okay.
And the Bray box is what allows the power tubes to really kick in versus trying to run that stuff through an effects loop. So the Bray box, I find that was a suggestion. I think, Ryan, you're running a Palmer, correct?
I'm running the Palmer, yeah.
Yeah, you're running the Palmer. I think that's exactly what Ed did. I don't think Ed ran a Bray box, but the Bray box is kind of like it's kind of an alternate version of a Palmer type thing, and it allows the power heads to really kick in. So when I plug this bad boy in, it really sounds pretty sweet. And on the dry cab, and I'm going to do a rig rundown because Ryan, kind of inspired me the other day when I rewatched his rig rundown. I'm like, man, I got to do one of those things and just do just kind of go through kind of what I just said and show pictures. But in the dry cab, from the guitar into the head, I'm running a EVH wah, Boss Super Octave OC3 that gives that big growl sound that Eddie got. I'm running a EVH flanger and an EVH MXR flanger and an EVH MXR phase shifter. And pretty much those are running in line from the guitar right into the head. Right. And the only things that are running through the wet side would be the Eventide stuff, the delay and the micro pitch. And I'll tell you, I know they're only 3 2x12s, they're not 3 4x12s. I think one day I'll upgrade, but I live in a condo unit. So, I mean, I can't even take these things off of one. And I got the old folks, the old folks coming up short,
I'm surprised you don't shake those guitars off the wall.
Oh gosh. Yeah. It's something else, but it's fun. It sounds good.
No, it sounds like you've got the basic formula, the +9, the -9, it's probably, if Craig helped set you up, he probably got you a 250 and 500 delay on each side.
Yep.
So yeah, man, you've got the formula down. So I'm anxious to hear that thing. So
yeah, well, one of these days, when I get around to it, I'm probably going to be moving residence pretty soon, and moving in with my lady. She's got a house, and I think it's been without getting too much into the personal stuff. She's things been going really good for us, and she's got her own place. And for me, having my own house years ago when I was married for 20 years, and then 8 years ago getting divorced and kind of living in condos and apartments until the right person came along. I pretty much got the entire basement mapped out up there. So I'm going to have a huge guitar room. I'm going to have my martial arts studio, all my firearms training stuff. So I can do my classes down there. So it's going to be my man cave.
Very cool.
Nice to get back to that again. So Ryan and R2, I think I'm going to be rolling with you guys. And when I do that, I'm going to reach out and see if I can get some help miking that stuff up with some stuff, and then run it in the computer. Because there's nothing like listening to live stuff when you can actually play, and have it sound good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Once I tell people this all the time, for years and years, I'm looking for this tone. And the minute that I tried wet, dry, wet, I was like, that's it. I'm spoiled. I can never go back.
It's so hard, isn't it? It's so hard to go back. Once you hear that sound, it's like, whoa, it's an epiphany, like boom, whoa.
Yep. And I'm sure that too, it's like a feel that you get with the guitar too. It's like, it surrounds you, it caresses you, it lifts you up to the clouds. Yeah. So
and the people that don't understand when we talk like this, they go, what is this guy
what are they talking about? Wet, dry, what?
Until you feel it.
Yeah.
It's funny, Ryan, you said that, because a buddy of mine who works at a local guitar store, And I love those little mom and pop guitar stores that are still around. So many of them gone out of business with Sweetwater and, music, all that, nothing against that, but, this is the way things are on Amazon online. To find a nice little mom and pop music store that's been around is so rare these days, but they're the ones that got the cool shit. They really got the best stuff, like you were just telling me the story earlier. But there's a guy a good friend of mine, he's one of my guitar guys. I mean, I build guitars and I paint them, I put them together and all that. But the one thing that I sometimes need a little help with is the wiring, because I don't solder very well. Yeah. But I'm okay at it. But this guy, my friend Mike, he does all that for me. He's an incredible guitarist. Guy's been playing for years. He just rips, he shreds. He's got a nice rig and everything. Well, he had heard of Wet, Dry, Wet, and he came down about maybe 6 months ago one day. And I said, I want you to see my rig. And he goes, oh, yeah, I've been seeing all the pictures on Instagram. I want to check that out. So I had it all warmed up. The tubes were all on, the amp was on standby. And I was running my little 50-watt head at the time, which still sounds great. And he comes down, and I think I had my Kramer 5150, and I started ripping into, I think it was Somebody Get Me a Doctor. And it was so funny because, like you said, when you hear that Wet, Dry, Wet, it just surrounds you. It's this huge stereo separation. And if you're not used to hearing it, it's really like, whoa, it doesn't even have to be that loud, but it just grabs you. And, and I hit a couple of chords, and then I did a couple little things, and he's sitting there. Here's this guy that's been playing guitar longer than me and 10 times better than me. And he's like this. Whoa. Yeah. So finally, turn the volume off, and he goes, dude, that is freaking sick. And he just sat in this chair, and I gave him the guitar, and he just ripped for about an hour. And I was just watching him, and I'd play a few licks, and he was just amazed. And like you said, once you hear that, I mean, some people like that sound, some people don't. But once you hear that, man, it just grabs you like, whoa! It's just such a brilliant, majestic sound,
Well, I mean, if anybody's an Eddie fan, and you play guitar and you play through a Wet, Dry, Wet rig, you're gonna freaking love it. I mean, where else can you get, like, let's see. That was actually up. I mean, you can imagine what it sounds like in here. It's just, it's phenomenal. So I love it.
Ryan, how big is that room? I mean, is that like a basement setup you're in? Or
it's a basement, probably, I don't know, 15 by 14, something like that. So, I mean, I don't know how big it looks on camera, but, it's not a small room, but it's not huge. But I actually play it at a level like right now. I mean, that's almost a bedroom level in here. Yeah. I mean, I can hear it even with my headphones on, everybody upstairs are like, I can hear it a little bit. And they can actually sleep upstairs when I play at that volume.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It doesn't have to be loud. It's like even down here. I mean, I got that amp on like just under 1, and it's not really that bad, But yeah, it's such a great sound now. R2, what do you run for a rig?
Oh man, currently, when the kids are gone and I'm home alone, and the kids go to grandma and grandpa's house, I have the house to myself usually on the weekends. Right behind me here, I have it covered up with an amp cover. It's a PV custom shop amp head. When PV, I don't know if they still do, but they used to make custom shop heads. I have the certificate and everything. So it's supposed to be a 5152. So it's a 6505 plus.
Yeah.
With all the soldering, all the transformers and everything that would have been the same as Eddie's, supposedly, according to the sheet, according to the certificate. But it sounds great. I love it. I'm playing through just a single cabinet. Right next to me over there, you can't see it, I have a 22 space Mesa Boogie shock mount rack, and I had that thing full. I used to play in my band, but when I had my own man cave, my own jam room, I used to call it, I still have it, a Mesa Boogie Triaxis with Mesa Boogie 290 power amp. And then what I would do, I have a Mesa Boogie amp switcher. And what I used to do is the wet, dry, wet. So in the middle would be the head, and the two stereo sides would be the power amp, running all the wet effects. Using my Rocktron IntelliPitch, which is kind of like the IntelliFX, and Elisa's Quadriverb. I don't know if you guys remember the Quadriverbs back in the day. But awesome reverbs. So that's where I would get my ping pong delays, my reverb sound, the Eddie Van Halen sound, the detune sound. But right now, currently, just a small rig, just a one single Marshall cab with the head, and an Eventide micro pitch delay. I used to use that. I remember a long time ago, you had the Boss PS6.
The PS6 Harmonists. Those are great pedals if you're going to run a mono rig or run it through a combo.
Yeah, it's not
I have that pedal upstairs in my bedroom for my little 5150 Iconic 1x12. I'll run that in a DD3. That's just a little bedrooming. And I'll tell you, that's William Kelly from Van Hagar, the tribute band. My buddy's from New York. Yeah. He still runs his PS6 Harmony. That is a badass little pedal. If you're going to run a mono style rig,
Yeah, it sounds great. I love it. But when I plugged in the Eventide micro pitch delay, the tracking on it's better. When I play leads on it, there's something about the Boss that didn't sound right. I like it when you're playing rhythms, but when you started playing some lead single note sounds, it sounded a little off. But this thing just sounds great. But I mean, nothing compared to the rack mount. I always wanted a H3000. That was my dream rig. I had the space for it on my shock mount rack. I always wanted to get the Eventide 3000, but never could. And now they're outrageously priced if you can get one.
I had considered one because I got the SD 3000s back there, for the left and right delay. And I was considering the H3000 because, that's what Ed used. But the cost of them, and then the, potential for repairs, and nobody repairs them, find a guy that works on that stuff,
So hard.
I took a chance with the delays, and I also have a PCM 70 lexicon up there too, and I'm using that just like he did, just for the cathedral delay.
Ed was running the Roland's too, wasn't he, at one time?
The Roland SDE 3000.
Oh, that's what that is. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. So the only piece that I don't have that he used was the H3000, but I've got the Eventide Eclipse, which is basically the newer version of that.
Right.
So Ryan, you're pretty much running. You guys know who Jeremy White is, obviously. Watching his stuff, the way he had his rack. Ryan was the other guy that I bumped into YouTube where I went like, "What is this, man? Here we go." And then I saw him on Johnny's. I'm like, wait a minute, I remember seeing this guy. So that's awesome, man, that you built the dream rig that we have
been chasing it for years and wanting it. And like I said, I'd heard wet, dry, wet before, and I was like, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go all out and do it. So
it's so funny because you got two videos. If you go to Ryan's YouTube channel, and then don't go to the live, but you go to the videos and you scroll through his videos. His Summer Nights video is just incredible. That's one of the best renditions of Summer Nights I've ever heard.
Thank you.
And it sounds great. And he's having fun. He's got the smile. He's got the Eddie smile going, and he's hitting those chords. And you're right though. I mean, Ryan, I think you said it. I said, what's better than is that the best riff or not?
It's one of the best riffs ever, and
it's so simple. It's so simple.
The part that I love about that song is where he drops, from that. He's up 2 steps, and then he drops down on that A. What is it? It's so see this smile here. I mean,
I know, that's right.
And that's what it's all about for me. Is that. Yeah, that right there. It's so cool, just even hearing you do it.
I know.
It's like
now, before Live Without a Net video came out, did you guys ever wonder when you heard that what that was?
Oh yeah. As
Yeah.
a kid, you know,
You
I'm,
heard that?
I'm what, 13?
I'm like, what is?
What is that?
13, 14 years old, and I'm watching Live Without a Net because I was introduced to Van Halen probably around 84. And then I started listening to some of the earlier stuff. And then, you know, shortly after that, obviously, Sammy came into the band, and then you had Live Without a Net. So I was big into, okay, I got to see this. Yeah. So my brother had bought the VHS tape, and actually, my brother was showing it to somebody else because of the drum solo.
Yeah.
They were like, listen to this drum solo. It sounds like he's starting up a Harley, you know?
Yeah.
And so I was like, man, that's some of the coolest stuff I've ever seen. So I watched the whole thing, and then I saw him pull this thing out. Yeah. And when I had heard Summer Nights on the album, I was like, what is that growl? How is he getting that growl out of the guitar? And then once I got my hands on this and played it, I was like, there it is. There's that growl. And ever since Live Without a Net, you know, I had been lusting over one of these. So finally, so like I said earlier, the only two on YouTube right here, right now.
Right. This is the first time I've ever seen two TransTrems in one video, one channel.
Well, you know, like I mentioned before, when I do something, I go all out. So when I do a YouTube channel, I go out and I get the other OG that has the GL2T. So here we are finally.
Yeah.
Yeah, he freaked me out when he goes, hey, did you see the thumbnail? And I go, oh, yeah, you know what you do. Put another thumbnail of me, you know, okay, cool. And I look at it and I see, Rob stopping by? No way, man. Yes.
Oh, that's so cool. It's fun.
So,
you know, like I said, though, when I was checking out Ryan's stuff, I was like, whoa, this guy is great. You know, and if you scroll back to his early videos, he's doing some Wolfgang stuff, and he does not have that wet, dry, wet rig set up at that time. It sounds like he's playing.
that's the garage days.
Yeah.
You're talking way back, like 2007.
Like 13 years, yeah. And then all of a sudden, boom, a couple videos later, here it is. Yeah. And it's like just goes from 0 to 120.
Right.
You know?
He took the blanket off the speakers.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You know, shortly after that, I think I have an old Cathedral that I did years ago, and I was running a version of a wet, dry, wet. It was with a TC Electronic G system. And it sounded pretty good, but that, you know, that's the garage days. We're now in the man cave here with this stuff here. Yeah. So, yeah, we're up to modern stuff.
You guys ever hear the speaking of the trans?
Oh, we have now finally arriving after some technical difficulties.
Who's this?
We have from somewhere on some De Palma or something. I don't know. It is
Michigan.
Miss Amanda Peters.
Had to go find her drink.
Yeah. How's it going, Amanda? Good to see you back in.
I'm good. I don't know what happened. It was like the stock market crash of, you know, it just like I was just sitting here and it just turned off. But I'm back.
The polite thing for us to have done would have been to wait for you to get here, but you know we
would have been waiting for a while.
We got 31 in the chat now, so they were all getting impatient, so we had to get started. So good to see that you made it back.
Yes, I struggle a little bit, but I'm here.
So how you been? We hadn't seen you for a few weeks, not on the streams anyway. But what you been working on? What's new?
So I just started working on my prototype that's not Kramer. This is the first design that I ever came up with for myself. And it was a completely fully lit up idea, which I'm putting into a Red Special Brian. So I started that. I'm really good friends with Billy Rowe, who owns Rock and Roll Relics, and he was kind enough to let me use his shop. So I go up there and I work on the guitar, and that's honestly what I've been doing. There's like a Red Special meetup, usually once a year, and there's one on my birthday in Arizona, so that's next month. And so I'm trying to get a good chunk of it done for that to see if I can make it. But if I don't make that deadline, I'm absolutely going to be at the one in London. So I'm going to be flying across the country. Usually Brian May's techs are there, like everyone who works for him. Andy Guyton's going to be there. He's been building for Brian May for 20 years now. So he told me he was going to be there, and well, now I got to go.
Very cool.
So yeah.
Sounds like some exciting stuff in the works.
Yeah. I mean, obviously Eddie's my number one, and he'll always be my number one. But this was just a total glam rock idea, so you got to go for Brian May for the glam rock.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, it's gonna be interesting because I have to get the boots to sync up with my guitar.
Save the Badgers.
Save them.
Save the Badgers, indeed. I have platform boots that have an effect in it.
Oh, that's cool. So you were talking about some lighting and so forth. So that's what you're talking about, lighting to sync up.
Yeah. So the boots actually light up and they match the guitar. There's an effect in it. Yeah.
Awesome.
So it's a whole thing, and it's just like platform boots, light up guitars, very, very, very glam rock.
That's awesome.
Cool. Very cool.
Very 1975. Yeah. Very Ace Frehley light up Les Paul. So
that's what I was going to say. I was just going to say it sounds very Kiss like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah. If I mean, it's Spacey Ace because it's got a light up moon in it, and it's got all the light up LEDs. It was an idea that I came up with, and I didn't want to give it up. And I really had to search for who would be the best fit. And immediately I was like, Brian May, he's an astrophysicist. He would love that. So that's what I've been working on. And I dived into it. Not that I've put my Kramers on hold. I really had to, because I'm doing like a full set, I had to really, I've been sitting back thinking, okay, like how are you going to tie all this together? Because I'm just into full ideas, and I've been really working on that, connecting with people who do very specific things for what I need them to do. Because I'm not just go buy a Seymour Duncan. I'm like, okay, so we're winding the pickup, so I need a guy who can do this and help me do this. So it's a full project, that in itself. So I'm really excited. Obviously,
sounds great. We wish you luck with it.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
right before you got here, we were kind of talking about, obviously the Steinberger GL2Ts with the TransTrems, and how, the first time I saw it was live without a net, and, just talking about, the sound of it and so forth. You mentioned obviously that, you said Eddie's always your number one guitar guy. What was your introduction to Van Halen? What was the story with that? I know your uncle had done some pictures and so forth. Is that kind of how you got into Van Halen?
So my uncle, my brother started to get really into classic rock, and whatever cassettes or CDs he had in his room, I'd go and I'd steal them out of his room. I was the younger sister, so
that's what little sisters are supposed to do.
Right.
Yeah, I'm like, what do you have in here? So
He'll never miss this.
Yeah.
Just as long as she doesn't find that other drawer.
Yeah, right. That's the secret drawer, right?
I heard AC/DC's TNT, and I was like, wow, I remember that blew me away, hearing that. And I fell in love with rock and roll. And then my brother obviously started to want to get more into the music. And I mean, my uncle is known for having this massive collection of records. He has, like 15 or 25,000 in his personal collection. CDs, like every CD you can imagine, every cassette, every 8-track. So My mom would take us over to the house, and then he would just like burn a CD from his massive collection. And that just kept happening until one day my brother came home with a bunch of mixed CDs, and I had no idea what it was. So I remember going in his room and I put the CD in, and it was Van Halen 1. So, Running with the Devil came in, and I still, can see the room and everything. And when I heard Eruption, that was it. That was it. It changed my life. I still get goosebumps when I think about it. Begged for a guitar immediately after. Sprinted out of the room. Mom, please, I will do whatever you want me to do if I can have a guitar. So that Van Halen 1 is so important to me. I didn't even listen to the rest of the CD until much later. It was just like a hit Eruption, and I knew everything.
Just blown away. Yeah.
That was it. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely blown away. So the Van Halen 1 tones and everything on it is my favorite. That's what I go after. I obviously really love 1984. All the albums really are great in retrospect, but it's truly Van Halen 1 for me. There's something like gritty about it, and I really love it.
Yeah, very, very cool. So obviously you paint guitars. Rob, you have a bunch of guitars that are painted.
Yes.
Some of the people here in the chat may not, if you're an EVH fan or a Van Halen fan and you've been on YouTube for some time, certainly you've probably seen Rob's channel.
Yes,
but for those that aren't familiar, Rob's the real deal. Look at the guitars that are behind him there. And we also have
all smoke and mirrors. It's not.
Oh, come on now. Not according to these secret pictures that I've got.
That's a green screen, right? That's a green screen.
So look at here.
Yeah, that's actually an older picture.
I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, if I counted correctly. 10 just on that wall.
That's 10. There's a total of 52 guitars.
Oh, holy crap. All right, so we have that wall, and obviously there's your wet, dry, wet setup. Yeah,
that's pretty much everything that's pretty much it right there. I got a couple things moved around, like that's exactly it right there. Yeah, because the 50's in the middle.
So if somebody were to show me this picture and say, look at these guitars this guy has, I would be impressed with just that. But wait, there's more. So this is kind of what we're seeing behind you right now, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much. Yep. For the most part, there's some additional ones. That picture's about a year and a half old, but there's been some upgrades. There's been some definitely some additions, but for the most part, yeah, that's it.
I think I see Kurt 5150 tied up in the corner over there.
Yeah, he was here a year ago, and when we weren't out drinking and having a. That's a separate story. We had we picked him up from Boston that day, and we never mind. Not going to get into it. We had a good night, but the next day we went to EVH Con, and we picked up our good friend Jimmy Carr.
Jimmy Carr.
And when I was driving, we got about maybe an hour into the drive, and I finally got rid of the hangover so I could actually enjoy myself. And then as soon as we got there, I just started hitting it again. So no, but yeah, that's a pretty accurate picture.
So we've got more. Okay, so this is the back wall that we could see in this other picture.
Oh,
so a little closer here.
Look at that Ripley.
Yes. Yep. There's more. There's one wall that I did not send in the picture, but there's
another wall.
Yeah.
There's another wall.
One you didn't see this is the George Lynch Tiger.
Okay.
There you go.
Well, that's not Eddie related, so.
No, not really.
It doesn't
Come on, you gotta love the Lynchmeister.
Right?
Yeah, I know, right?
So man, it's impressive. It's impressive.
Well, that's about 27 years building, painting, collecting, selling, buying. Yeah, those are three of the Music Mans. Divorce, everything kind of came, it's not because of that, but it's just a lot of dedicated hard work, and that's only one of my hobbies.
Look at those quilts.
So this is leading me to my question. Where did that passion come from that you have to go and build all of those guitars And I know that you probably have geeked out more than anybody on each individual guitar. And you can probably tell what position a Phillips screw is supposed to be on a, on a pick guard with the research that you've done. So where did that passion come from all those years ago?
Well, it's funny because, at 49 years old, I look back and I go, man, I've been doing this since I started playing guitar. I got a late start on it. I started playing guitar when I was 20. Oh gosh, what was I? 20. I was 23 years old when I started playing guitar in 1996. And I always wanted to play guitar my entire life as a little kid, from listening to my mom playing Rod Stewart songs, and I was, whatever. And Kiss and all that. It's just as a little guy, I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And I always loved music. And I always wanted to play guitar. But I remember I don't really remember Van Halen 1 coming out. I mean, in 78, I was only 5 years old. But I do recall hearing that kind of music. I remember hearing ZZ Top on the way to, my parents' lake house and stuff like that, and thinking that was so cool. And then when I got into high school, was actually 1984. I think we went on vacation, and my buddy brought the 1984 cassette tape back in the cassette days, And I'm like, whoa, this is cool. I heard Jump and Panama and Hot for Teacher and Top Jimmy. And I'm like, we can swear, right?
Yeah, man.
I'm like, that is fucking badass. And I'm like, that is so freaking cool. And he's doing the Hot for Teacher. Like, I'm like, how is he doing that? And, the drums for Hot for Teacher, it sounds like a motorcycle. And I'm like, that is so cool. So that was like the first exposure to really wanting to play guitar that I had. Mm-hmm. But I was always so involved in sports, and, I started doing martial arts when I was 15, and, I was just so involved with stuff. And I never really got around to it. It was always something I wanted to do. And then I remember, being a Van Halen fan, and then being in high school, 5150 came out, and, I love the Hagar era. I love it because that was my high school anthem. I knew the Roth stuff and I loved it, but I mean, when you're in, I don't know, 8th or 9th grade, and Dreams and 5150 and Summer Nights and Love Walks In, I was like, whoa, that is so cool. Those are the anthems of my, my high school years. And then I remember graduating high school, going to college, and like, I want to play guitar. I want to play guitar. And I'd never seen Van Halen live. I'd listened to him, but I'd never seen him live. And then my friend got me some tickets to the Balance Tour in Mansfield, Mass. And I remember, like, they came out and Eddie hit that first chord of Seventh Seal. And Ryan, there's that wet, dry, wet sound. Mm-hmm. I had great seats. They were 6 seats. They were like 5 rows back. And I was like 22 years old. And I'm like, whoa, here's fucking Eddie Van Halen with a short freaking haircut and the frosted tips and the Eddie shirt and the ripped up jeans. And he's playing the Music Man. And it just sounded so freaking huge. I was just like, this is the fucking guy I've been like, whoa. And I just couldn't believe it. And they put on an excellent show. And I remember it was at that point, my favorite Van Halen song became Ain't Talking About Love off the first album. But I loved how they played it with Sammy, because he just, different vocal range and what, anyways. And I was just
which on Live Without a Net, he played on the Steinberger.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. And I was actually going to talk about that after, because I still like to play it on this little thing once in a while.
That's a fun fact right there.
It is, because he does those weird bar. He does that weird bar stuff in the solo that you can't do on a regular guitar. But it was right then and there. My ex-wife at the time, we weren't married. I'm like, that's it. I'm playing guitar. So she went out. She bought me this cheap little Fernandez $150 Strat, black and white. It was a black guitar with a white pickguard. And
little inside joke here. When you bought the Fernandez guitar, did you immediately take it apart and not put it back together for 6 months?
There's a
Fernando now.
There's a quick story on that. So she got me that, and this little, I think it was a little crate 15-watt amp. And for the first time, I'm like, oh, does this thing have distortion? Because everybody that played guitar back then, it all sounded acoustic. And all of a sudden, I'm hearing this dirty distortion. Like, whoa, that's it. And I was just like in freaking heaven. So there was this place called Gribbon's Music in Greenfield, Massachusetts. And this guy by the name of Matt, who I still know today, he's a guitar player, was my instructor. And he was a few years older than me. And I remember going to him for an hour lesson once every, like, it's either Wednesday or Thursday evenings at 6 o'clock, because I was working nights, the overnight shift. And I said, just teach me Van Halen. I don't want to learn all that other shit. I don't care about reading music. I don't care about that. Teach me a little theory just so I know what I'm doing, but I want to learn the chords, what key I'm playing in. But all I really care about is, I just want to know. That's all I wanted, Right. So once I learned a few chords, I took lessons for about a year. And then I was just like, all right, I'm good. And just played on my own for the rest of the time. And I think I had that little Fernandez Strat for about 6 months. And of course, Live Without a Net and all that stuff, and the 5150 was my favorite guitar. I took the pick guard off and I painted the pick guard first. And then I put it back on, like, whoa, that looks kind of cool. I think I put black stripes on it. And I remember my teacher was like, hey, listen, you got to get one of these things with what's called a Floyd Rose if you're really going to do the Eddie stuff. So I bought my first Kramer guitar, which I think was a Stage Master, I think it was, at a little local guitar shop. And first thing I got at home, I took it apart. I had no idea what I was doing. I put the tape on it, sprayed it. It actually came out pretty good. I have pictures of it somewhere. And that was it. And the next thing you know, I'm looking online. It's 1996, and they have this thing online called Unchained World. You remember that, Ryan? R2. Amanda, I don't know if you remember. Maybe not. But
I think what year did you say? I think she was born in that year.
What year were you born?
I was born in 92.
Okay, that's the year I graduated high school.
I was 4 in 96.
She was I gotta get it.
I'm only gonna tell you one time.
I don't have that, but I do have my other, I have my other 80s favorite guy.
Sorry, we're going sound effect crazy here.
Yeah, the 18. That was my favorite 80s TV show. But yeah, I just, I saw this website called Unchained World. And there's this guy named Scott Smith. And I'm like, oh, look at this dude's freaking guitars. Holy crap. And this guy named Jerry Leica and a couple of other guys, Eric Broadbent. I'm like, damn, look at these guys. So I reached out to Scott, and him and I have been dear friends ever since 1996. And I'm like, hey, man, like, how do you do that? And he actually got back to me, and, we talked. I think he gave me his phone number, and he sent me some pictures of him and Eddie, because he knew Eddie back then. And he's like, this is how you do it. And it was just then. From there on, I was just like, boom. And I got my first PV Wolfgang in 97. It was a black standard. And that was just the friggin' coolest thing, And then from there, it was just like, poof, it just exploded. And, 26, 27 years later, this is what you got.
Wow. Yeah.
So it was kind of like you would do a guitar, and then you're like, okay, I gotta have another one. Where's my next hit of guitar? Is that
addictive, man? It's
yeah.
addictive. Yeah. Once you do, it just never ends, I remember that old guitar trick I used to do to my ex-wife. I'd be like, hey, I got to have this guitar worked on. I'd take a empty guitar case out with me, nothing in it, come back with a guitar in it. Nobody knew that. And once you get enough of them, they can't tell. They just, when did you get that one? Oh, I got that 6 months ago.
About the same time I got those other shoes.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But it's fun. It's been a great time, and to this day, still watching these YouTube shows and, playing and still building and tweaking stuff and seeing new people. One of the biggest things I like is helping people. I get so many messages on Messenger and Instagram, and I mean, I'm sure you guys all do too, but I mean, every day it's like somebody's, hey, Rob, how'd you do this? How'd you do this? What do you think of this? And it, back in the days when I started, you didn't have stuff instantaneously. Like, you had to search for it. You had to go through circus magazines and guitar magazines, because the internet was just so fresh. You could find stuff, but I mean, back in those days, it was dial up, and now everything is like right at your fingertips. So it's so fun to help people out, and see folks doing that,
Yeah, very cool.
It's great to see everyone here on the on the YouTubes, everyone has a little bit of a piece of knowledge of certain things that they're really good at,
Yeah.
whether it be painting, striping, hardware, pickups, gear, anything. It's amazing. I love it, man. I
Yeah.
love that everyone's sharing this and we're all a big
Totally.
community here.
Yep.
Kurt says,
Absolutely.
"Where's my little guy Barney?" Well, you missed him, Kurt. He did an introduction a little while ago.
So one thing I forgot to mention, I was going to mention at the beginning of the show. Today is 3/16, Wolfgang's birthday.
Happy
So,
birthday, Wolfgang.
Happy birthday to
That's
Wolfgang.
why I'm wearing the
Yeah.
shirt, man.
I can remember where I was. I was driving. I had a little Datsun 280Z. And this was back in '91. I'm driving home from work, and I hear on the radio, Eddie Van Halen, and his wife Valerie Bertinelli give birth to a baby boy on, this day.
March
And
16th.
I remember I was like, oh, that's cool. Eddie had a kid.
Isn't that funny how you remember that?
Yeah, you remember that kind of stuff. So,
Crazy.
That was line.
This
Happy
people
birthday.
else to do that.
I have a question for you, Rob. The little Les Paul. Did you make that, or is that a David Peschelit?
No, I will. Hold on, I'll pull it up. I don't think he'll get too mad at me, but this is a guitar that, I mean, they just don't exist. Dave is making it now. I had this made about 1.5 years ago, and it is exact to what Ed's is, even the logo. It's even got the little built-in speaker. It's not in tune, but it's not in tune. I did a video on my Instagram of me playing little guitars or a little bit on this thing a while ago. This guitar was built by Donnie Ward.
Okay.
Donnie did it custom for me. He did one for himself, and I was like, dude, you got to set me up with one. I was like, gotta have it. I had a little Lotus guitar, travel guitar that I kind of made into this. But you know me, I'm always tweaking stuff. I got to always do, make it better or whatever. And Donnie, he's like, all right, I'll do one for you. And he did. And I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, it's a nice low action, and it's the exact thickness. Now, Donnie reached out to Dave. This would have been, Dave wasn't doing them at the time. And I think the reason Dave started doing them was because he saw Donnie was doing them. So he's like, hey, I got to jump on this. Obviously he's the original creator. But Donnie did reach out to Dave, and Dave gave him some information. And basically, the way they did the neck was, and Donnie tells the story, it's a regular standard neck. They just cut the first 4 frets off. That's all they did. And that's just the rest of the neck. That's why the scale is different. But it's about as exact as you can be to the real one. And I do have some folks that have played the real one, seen it, and also played this. I'm not going to give them names on air, but and they said that is fucking exactly like the real one. And it plays just like, so this is a Donnie Ward custom one. He only did this one for me, and he's thinking about doing them again, but I know Dave's doing them. If you really want the real deal, I mean, I know it probably costs some coin, but he is going to be doing them again. I think he already is, isn't he?
Oh, okay.
I think, but yeah, it's really a cool little guitar. It's fun, it's kind of neat. And then I had Craig from Donnie sent it to me unfinished, and then I had Craig from CHS Custom Guitars put like an amber stain on it. But yeah, you can see it's really.
Let me get you pulled out here.
That's great.
That's awesome.
So is that a bird's eye top on that?
Yes. Yeah, it's bird's eye maple.
Very cool.
It's got the. I mean, I think I don't know if Ed's had Schallers or Gattos on it, but it's pretty neat. It's a fun little thing. And the nice thing about this one is there's just not a lot out there. It's so tiny. It's like I mean, it's a really thin body. Now Ed had 2 made for him. Dave did this one, which he introduced to him at a Fair Warning show, brought it to him backstage, and then Ed wrote little guitars on the bus, according to his story, on this guitar. And then he, did the chorus and stuff with his Frankenstrat. But then he wanted another one that had a little bit of a thicker body. If you look at some pictures from the 1984 tour, you see he's playing a red one. It's kind of like a deep cherry red, you know. It's the same thing, and I think that one has a VH logo on the headstock, not the Petrolot one. But the body's a little bit thicker, and I don't know what the dimensions are. But I think Ed said in the Guitar Aficionado magazine, he said that this one actually sounds better for whatever reason, you know. But yeah, it's a cool little guitar.
Are those mini humbuckers or are they the little P90s?
They're little. Oh gosh, I don't know if Donnie's watching the show. I told him I was talking to him today. If he jumps in, I'll ask him. I'll get back to you. I want to say they're mini specialty ones that he did. I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head.
Here's the red one.
Yep. That's a good. That's a picture of the second one that Dave made for him, and all. It's the same exact size. The neck is exactly the same, but the body's just a little bit thicker.
It looks so funny. It looks so tiny.
It is. It really is. But yeah, they're fun. That was one that I never really expected I'd have. That was just something that I was just like, you know, I saw Donnie did one and I was like, whoa, where'd you get that? And he's like, oh, a custom man. Like, can you make me one? And he goes,
cool.
Really don't want to, but it's Rob. So I guess I kind of got to do one. I mean, not that I don't mean it that way, but he was just like, yeah, he's like, I guess you got to have one for your collection. I'm like, so worked out pretty cool. You know?
So you said that the GL2T is probably your favorite as far as playing or just overall favorite guitar?
You know, it's probably my I mean, the 5150 is my prize, but this one would be a close second just because it's got quite a story to it. I've been forcing myself to play this more. Mm-hmm. This is hard for me to play because the balance, it's just so light. And I agree with, you know, Ryan says, you know, that like if you use that little kickstand on it and put it on your, you know, on your leg, it you know, it plays. It's so light in the.
It's a little awkward, yeah.
It's awkward, and you know, I mean, I can play it, but. Ugh. Now it's too bad because that actually sounded great. So I'm sure it garbled up.
No, we were able to hear it all. I mean, the volume came down, but we were able to hear it clearly. It sounds fantastic.
I'll tell you, it's hard for me to play this. What do you think, Ryan? Do you find this harder to play than a regular? Because I just can't really rip on this thing. Like, I mean, I can on a Wolfgang or a Strat or whatever. What do you think?
When I first got it, it was a little different. And, you know, this is a 24 fret as well, you know, instead of a 22. So sometimes I get a little lost when I slide up, you know, I'm on the wrong fret. But after playing it for a little while, getting used to it, I mean, certainly it feels different every time I pick it up from any other guitar, but it is different. Yeah. Difficult.
Do you find the balance is better when you play off a Strat versus on the kickstand?
Yeah, I always put it on strap and play it. Even when I'm sitting here, it's on, you know, the strap.
Yeah.
It's just easier for me to play it that way because, yeah, with that little kickstand, it just seems like it kind of wants to tilt around.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's a fun little guitar. It really is. I mean, this guitar I got back in 1999 on eBay for $800.
Man, oh man,
$800, and you know, I never thought I'd get one. I mean, I didn't even, you know, eBay was I don't want to say it was new, but it was in its beginning stages, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was scrolling one night. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I worked nights, so I was on a night off, and I was just kind of sitting at home because I couldn't sleep. And I'm like, whoa, that's one of those freaking stuff. That's the Summer Nights guitar. I'm like, shit, really? And Steinberger GL2T, and I'm looking at my magazines. I'm like, yeah, that's the one. And it said it had a version 1 TransTrem. This is a new one. But it had the version 1 TransTrem, which Eddie had on his, and I think still does. I'm not 100% sure.
Quick question for you. Do you know if his version 1 was ever converted to a version 2 style?
I think it was, but I believe it was. David Allen Wright was asking me about this earlier. I think it was back in 2015.
Okay.
Jeff Babbitt's got it back in 2015, the guy that really, put Eddie's original together, and he went through it. Eddie was actually messing around with his back in 14, 15. From what I understand, they were playing Get Up and stuff like that in the studio and just kind of screwing around with it. And Eddie had plans to bring this thing back out again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how we would have done it, from a
endorsement kind of thing.
Endorsement type deal, but he was planning on bringing it out again. And there's an article where he says people want to hear this guitar.
Mm-hmm.
But I do believe Jeff converted it, I think, to a version 2. But this one had a version 1 on it, but it was totally like fried. And the guy said that. He was like, the TransTrem is fried. So it basically worked like an S-Trem. It didn't have a locking arm on it. It was broken and it wasn't, set up right. So, and it didn't have a striped faceplate on it. But it was an 85, I think, Newberg version. It was the same one I think Ed had, and I got it for like $800, and I was like, whoa. It came with a little Steinberger soft shell case. And at the time there was a company called Pikamoose in New York, and I talked to Scott Smith and I'm like, hey, I got this thing, what do you think? And he goes, send it to Pikamoose and have them rebuild the TransTrem. So I sent it to them, and they basically said the TransTrem shot. They said, we'll put a new TransTrem on it, which is this one. And this would have been in probably 2000.
Mm-hmm.
And they put a new one on it. And at the time, I think the TransTrem cost me like $1,500. I remember I reached out to Ed Roman, and he wanted to charge me like $5,000 for the bridge.
Yeah.
No. So I went to Pikamoose and got it for like $1,500. And they just went through it and set it up, and I got it back. And I painted the faceplate.
Mm-hmm.
I've since repainted it. I've done a much better job on it, but I painted the faceplate, and the thing played amazing. And I enjoyed it for a couple years. And then, like anybody, in their mid to late 20s, especially us dumb guys, because we're just idiots. We don't grow up till we're in our 40s. But I think everybody in this chat would agree.
I still haven't
We're in
grown
our
up.
early 40s, but. I still haven't. I'm in the slow learners class, right?
Mm-hmm.
I sold it because I just wanted the money, and just whatever. And I remember the day that I shipped this thing off.
Wait a minute. You sold it. You know what we do to people that do stuff like that?
Yeah. Go ahead. And I can totally relate to those sounds. 100%. Yeah, exactly. Because that's what I felt like doing to myself.
Right.
Because I legit sent it out at the post office in Northfield, Massachusetts, and I'm driving home and I'm going,
What did I do?
Idiot. What did I do? I'm like freaking palm and face. I'm like, oh shit. And I'm like, all right. And I don't remember what I got for it, but it was definitely more than I paid for it. But it wasn't like some astronomical amount like these things would go for today, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And I always missed it. And I think 2.5 to 3 years went by. And I'm on eBay again one day. And I'm working at a nuclear power plant. I was their security training supervisor. And I'm sitting I never forget, I'm sitting at my desk having a sandwich. And I'm like going through eBay, looking at Steinberger guitars. And this thing pops up.
Wow.
And I'm like, at the time, the 5 for the 5150 was messed up. It had a little bit of a bleed going down on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking at it, I'm going, that looks like my freaking guitar. And of course, I couldn't remember who I sold it to. But at the time, you could actually direct message through email, not through the eBay messaging system, but you could direct message someone. They had their email, and I messaged them, and I was like, hey, I'm like, this is Rob Johnson, like I sold a guitar a couple of years ago. Is this by any chance the one? The guy got right back to me. He's like, hey, Rob, yeah, I'm the guy that got it. Like,
yeah, it's me.
Yeah. He's like, right, yeah. He goes, I just don't play it. It just sits in the corner. It's so cool. He's like, do you want it? I'm like, dude, this is the biggest freaking mistake I ever made in my life. Like, well, maybe not.
I want you back.
I know. It's like, I'm not much for heating up leftovers with exes, but I will say this was an ex-girlfriend that
That's one that you want back. Yep.
yeah, and
Baby, come back.
he's like, I'll give it to you for what you paid for it, what I paid for it. And son of a bitch, I paid him, and boom, he canceled the auction. I got it back, and I played it for a long time. And then 4 years ago, I was out visiting my friend Dave Nesdahl at the time, and he'd picked one up. Wasn't a striped faceplate. Whoa, geez, what's up, Ed? That's classic. That's
I hope
great.
you don't mind. He's leaning over my shoulder.
Well, he's standing in my corner over here, but he's 1995 era.
Right.
But I was looking at his, and I noticed the TransTrem was just so much tighter than mine. Mine just had a little slop in it, and I think it needed a refret. So I reached out to Headless USA. Don, rest in peace. It was a great guy, from Headless USA, and I said, "Hey, would you work on this thing?" So I actually drove to the shop in Poughkeepsie, New York, because it was only a few hours away. Dropped this thing off, and he said, "I'm going to have Jeff Babbitts go through it," which is the guy that worked on Eddie's, and I was like, yes. So he basically rebuilt the entire TransTrem, put all new parts in it, new bar. He gave me a brand new faceplate, which I striped when I got it home, which came with brand new pickups, new electronics. I mean, he buffed everything out and did a total refret on the thing. Did the 0 fret EVH mod, and it legit looks like a brand new guitar. And it's amazing. And I paid a lot of money to have him do that, but that was one of these. This is one of these investments that I could never probably get another one. And I just said, hey, I got the cash right now, and I want to have that done. And I did, and I was so happy I did it because it's like a brand new guitar.
Yep.
But it's got a story. Cool. I lost
that
it.
Is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unbelievable that you were able to get it back. I mean, how often does that happen? Especially with a Steinberger TransTrem guitar.
And the guy that sold it back to me actually says that was the biggest mistake he ever made.
Yeah. You guys are reliving the story.
I think I know him. I think I've talked to him once, and yeah, he expressed his
one of my shows. I was doing a show on my channel, and he goes, "Hey Rob, I'm the guy that sold it back to you." Right in the chat.
Yeah.
He got off the show, and I'm like, "Whoa," because I didn't remember his name or anything. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm the one. You want to sell it?" I'm like, "Nope,
no, never again."
So yeah, kind of a similar story with mine. I got a hold of Headless as well. Talked to Don. He was a great guy to talk to. Man, just all kinds of, stories and information that he had. And I told him what I was wanting to do. I was wanting to make, a replica of Eddie's guitar. And so he said that he had one that was in pretty mint condition, and he offered to have Jeff go through it, polish up the frets, or I think this one was refretted as well. So he did the mods, he did the 0 fret, which is the EVH mod, which is just a little bit of a cutout for the string to sit into so that it doesn't slide off the 0 fret there. You can see how I'm bending that and it's not moving.
I never even knew that until 4 years ago. I never even knew what the EVH 0 fret mod was until Jeff explained it to me, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. So kind of the same thing. And he says we've got replica not replica, but remanufactured faceplates that they would sell. So I got the blank faceplate. I still have the original one in there too. So I went ahead and got all the stuff loaded onto it. And you guys all know, I've got an artist that did the Fair Warning guitar. So I was able to take care of the striping up and all that good stuff. But to have the same guy that's worked on Eddie's, Steinberger, go through yours and make sure it's ready to go. I mean, kind of a cool story with these things,
Big time. Yeah. Man. That's awesome.
So we were talking a little bit earlier about the version 1, and I'm sure some people have a question about what's the difference in a version 1. So there was a version 1, version 1.5, and then the version 2 that we have. So the version 1, down here, instead of a ball going into the jaw, there was actually a little spot where the string actually screwed onto a fitting here. So when you change the strings, you had to actually screw the string on. That's my understanding. Is that yours as well, Rob?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
That's the way I understand it.
Yep. So you had to screw it on, and then you would, I guess, fine tune the same way. So the version 1.5 is any of those that were converted to the ball. And then the version 2 is these. The version 1, they said was it was a different casting, or the way that they made it instead of a mold or something like that. So a lot of people say the version 1 actually has better metal and they sound a little better, but who knows? This
It's supposed to be pretty rare though to find
Yeah.
the version 1s.
Yeah.
And if you could find one, the funny thing was I really wished I had known better, because this one had a version 1 when I got it,
Mhm.
and I gave it up. And I, not knowing any better, they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, we're going to give you a deal if we put the new one on." I'm like, all right, take that old piece of crap. I don't want it. If I'd known any better,
Yeah,
would've been-
put it to the side.
nope, I'll take it back, and I'll would have hung on to it and had it rebuilt. But yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So we got, let me see. I know that there's some questions in the chat. Sorry, we've been having, just a good time visiting, amongst ourselves here. We've been kind of
Neglecting the chat.
neglecting the
I've
chat.
been trying to say hello to people here.
So, okay, yeah, here's, we had the question there. What's the difference between version 1 and version 2? John, I hope we answered that for you. Yours is a 0 fret version, right? I mean, you had all the mods
Yep.
done on yours recently.
Yep, I had that done too.
Ed could have played some MeWise Magic.
Yeah.
Let's see. See if there was any other questions.
Well,
Keith
I know-
asked, "What's your least played guitar, Rob?" Believe it or not, it's this one I'm holding right here, which is a Les Paul. It's Chinese Les Paul, but believe it or not, it plays great. Which I had modded for a Steinberger bridge, and put a Floyd Rose nut on it, and obviously, did the same thing. It looks just like Eddie's. Had it routed out for that. This is an S trem though, so it's not a TransTrem. It looks like one, but one of these days when I can find another TransTrem, I'm going to invest in it and put it in this guitar to make it, because this guitar plays great. The problem is when it's a floater basically, obviously,
Mhm,
but
mhm.
it just doesn't really stay in tune that well. So I think putting a TransTrem in this thing one day would be a project that I'd like to tackle.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
You
Now-
stick a quarter under there.
There you
Yeah,
go.
right. What year though, Amanda? What year?
71.
Oh, good girl, you got it.
71D.
Yes, that's right. D. Man, you guys are great.
Dan Gorman says we got a lot of nerve for getting the chat for getting the chat. Sorry, we're just enthralled with all this fascinating
I know.
information here. So
I know, right?
John says, "How's the Gibson TransTrem coming along?" At Amanda. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to ask that.
No comments.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
No secrets will be revealed.
Yeah.
Well, we both got Gibson TransTrem projects going on here, right?
Right. Yeah.
What
Stephen
do we?
Franklin says, "Rob, do you have anything new in the works to add to your collection?"
Rebuilding my wallet, I think.
Yeah.
Actually,
Well, you can sell that Steinberger.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
got a GL2T you want to sell?
well, actually, I just did do something, and my girlfriend was like, "You put that thing together and that quick?" So I had this. I literally just built this thing from scratch last week, and it actually should be in tune. It is in tune. So I had this Kramer Pacer original 82 or 83 neck laying around all this time.
That candy
Yeah.
apple.
Oh yeah. Well, it's kind of a junk body, but it is a Kramer body. So I was always saying, I got to do something with this neck, because I had it on. I have it on. I had it on a guitar a couple years ago, and I just loved it. But I think I ended up selling the body, and I kept the neck because I love these old Kramer necks. Because this is an original. This is an 80s. It's not one of the newer ones. And those are great too. So I have so many parts laying around. I have tuners. I have Floyd's. I have all kinds of stuff. So I bought, the only thing I bought was the pick guard. It was a one humbucker, one, knob pick guard.
Mm-hmm.
But it, kind of like the VH1, but it's not all hacked up, like cut out with a butter knife looking thing. So that's the only thing I bought. And then I, got this body, which I think it's an old Kramer Focus body. And so basically last week, I just sat down and put the thing together. I haven't wired it up yet. And I'll tell you, it's actually a great guitar. It actually plays amazing. It feels incredible. I put a big brass block in it.
Mm-hmm.
I had a Kramer neck plate kicking around, Gatto tuners, and
Grab it time.
Yeah, right. I mean, the body's kind of hacked up. It's got some nicks and dings.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just a project guitar, and I was just like, cool. And believe it or not, the thing plays great. I love a nice low action, so it's got a really sweet low action. And I'm just gonna probably get it wired up in the next couple of weeks and
go to town.
Yeah. So I mean, other than Van Halen guitars, I don't really need anything.
Right? You've got them all. It looks like, yeah.
There's some stuff maybe I'd like to do, I guess, but there's nothing that really jumps out at me. I don't have any more room. I really don't.
Well, it sounds like you're rectifying that pretty soon. So once you have more room, you're going to have to fill it. So there we go.
Yeah,
We'll certainly have to
He's going to see more space in the wall and go, wait a minute.
Yeah, I know what I can do there. Yeah.
Hey,
We had
go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to catch the chat here. Rob says, any chance of hearing your 5150? ET5150 says, what's the 5150 body wood? Keith Campbell says it's basswood. So that's a pretty popular debate.
Yeah, that's
Go ahead.
Is it basswood? Is it
ash?
Well,
years ago, we thought it was poplar, and I mean, I did a 5150 video on my YouTube channel where I went through that guitar tooth and nail. I'm going to do another one because I got some more information that I've gained. Because that video is, I think, 3 years old or so, 4 years old actually. Poplar, basswood, ash. The only thing I can say is the person that I know that's played it and held it a bunch of times says it's basswood. So that's what mine is. And people are gonna, fight me on that and whatever. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It's a great debate, but I'm going to stick with basswood just because the person that I know has played it said that's what it is.
Yeah. And through all of the information that I had, and when I did mine, I went ahead and used poplar. The bottom line is it's my guitar. It sounds great. I love it. So make it out of whatever you want to make it out of.
The thing that brings up a good point. I'll just say real quick, one of the things that's really to me is a turn off on and all this stuff that we all do is some people get so obsessed and almost adversarial on this. And, they go out of their way to kind of, whoa, like we're all fans. We're not making money off this stuff. We're spending money. I mean, I've given Van Halen thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars from Kramer to Music Man to PV to EVH, I mean, just the list goes on and on. But we do it because we love to do this. Once it gets to the point where people are, attacking each other, it's like, all right, dude, I'm out. You're good.
Yeah.
Just have fun with it. That's what keeps the whole spirit alive.
Yeah. That's like I was saying earlier. The main reason, I love Van Halen. I love the Van Halen sound. That's what makes me smile. And if I can have something here that I like to look at, I like to play it, and it makes me just grin ear to ear like I was in that Summer Nights video.
Yeah, he was.
That's why, that's just what it's all about. Whatever makes you happy.
As long as everyone's having fun. It's nice to debate. It's fun to hear everyone's opinion about certain things, but like Rob said, if it starts getting a little out of hand and
Yeah.
crazy and
And here's the thing,
hateful, then
say Wolfgang, who obviously owns the 5150 now, were to pick a fan and say, here, 5150 is yours. If that person played that guitar, they still wouldn't sound like Ed playing on the 5150. So does it really make that much of a difference? What the body wood is.
yeah. Hey, real quick, Rob, you got a big fan over here. I think his name is J7/8. He says Rob Johnson.
Yeah, Jay was on deck when I jumped off of the Johnny Bean show years ago because I had a bunch of stuff going on. Jay just jumped right in and took it over and did a great job. And Jay is he's a good friend, and hope everything's going well, my friend.
Well, cool. Welcome into
One of these days I got to get
chat.
down and visit him down to the Carolinas.
Carolina, not too far from me.
I know, that's right. You're Atlanta, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a couple hours away.
So I think we have the whole Under the Bus network here.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we got Connor Jams and Kurt.
We got Motor Jams. We got Caleb.
Well, welcome to everybody.
Kurt 5150. Watch out.
Rob's builds are way off. You're getting some flack now.
Caleb, I'm sorry. When we were out in LA back a month ago, we went out for a few days just to kind of have some fun and visited some friends in Hollywood and Venice Beach and just some stuff. It was funny. I meant to there was so many things to do. We never really got a chance to hang out, but Caleb, great guy, just amazing, Nerd Halen, just incredible guitarist. One of these days, I can't wait to see him and his band. Just incredible. He did a rendition of Source of Infection.
Nerd Halen, by the way, for all those folks.
Yeah.
Who don't know.
On Instagram, he did a rendition of Source of Infection the other day, which I thought was incredible. I was like, whoa, that sounds incredible. That's great. So kudos to you, my friend.
Very cool. I have to check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a bunch of new faces coming in. I see Caleb. I see Boner Jams. 7/8. Yeah.
Okay.
Welcome in, guys.
That's the Under the Bus network right there.
Very cool. So what other, we've got the TransTrem guitars. I do have this one over here that everybody on my channel has seen, which I just stumbled onto at a local music store. It was one
of those, Rob, one of those trems right there for that Les Paul you have.
I know. One of these days I'm going to sneak down to Atlanta and do a swap.
Yeah, swipe it, huh? I keep teasing everybody. I'm thinking of selling this one, But this was a job or a custom guitar job that I stumbled onto in a local guitar store. I walk in and it's hanging on the wall. A guy didn't know anything about the TransTrem, so he didn't know how it worked, didn't know how to work on it, and it wasn't transposing, properly. But I'd already had this other one, so I kind of knew how to work on it a little bit. And this is
that don't know anything about anything. They're the best deals.
So I went through and I did a little rebuild on this one. I changed the little bearings in it, and pretty happy with this one. But it was a Music Man's body, based guitar. Really killer bird's eye neck on this thing. And whoever built it obviously built it, it's called the 5150.
That's so cool.
And I think his name was Greg Ransom or something like that built this guitar. And I just happened to walk in and find it hanging on the wall. So it's got a sustainer in it and the TransTrem, yeah. So yeah, I had to grab it and bring it home. So very cool guitar.
You R2, I don't know if you'd remember these, Amanda, maybe you would, but I'm sure Ryan. Do you remember Ed Roman back in the early 2000s had a TransTrem guitar with a Music Man body, but the base of it was cut out like this. Called the Ed Burger.
Yeah.
Remember those?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I always wanted one of those. And I remember on Unchained World, some guy had an Ed Burger, and it was an amber quilt top. Looked just like like Eddie's Music Man, you know, the amber quilt top Music Man. But it had a TransTrem on it with a headless neck, and I was like, whoa, that is so cool. And those things had I don't know if they're still around. I mean, they've got to still be around, the ones that made it, but they had a short lifespan, but they were the coolest things.
Yeah, called them the Ed Burger. You may have said that already. Yeah. I remember looking at those, and I was like, man, I really want one of those too. You know, but I'm glad that I finally found this one.
Yeah.
Now,
So
Vito Bratta have
Vito? I think he played the GM or whatever the
Strat style,
kind of the Strat style body. I think that's what he played.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
Caleb says he wants. Caleb, one of these days, I want to. You got to sit there and go wild on this thing. Yeah. This
one might be closer. So what other? I mean, I went into to ask you this earlier, but you know, you've got the TransTrem guitar, and I've got that one there. And I thought, okay, you know, this thing is going to inspire me to be creative and come up with different licks and come up with different, you know, progressions. And all I do is play Van Halen licks on it. That's all I've learned so far. So, you know, I can't stop playing them when I pick up this guitar. It's like I don't want to play anything else. So, what other riffs have you learned on yours?
I mean, that's the problem. I mean, I'll pick up any other guitar and I'll obviously play, you know, whatever I want to play. But this guitar, like the Sustainer, I have one too. I mean, whenever I pick the damn thing up, all I want to do is sit there and, you know, hit a harmonic and look at my watch, have a sip of my drink, and rest at the bar. It's so hard to not, you know, it's so hard to play this guitar. It's so hard to not just fuck with the thing, you know?
Yeah, just sit and make noise.
I mean,
one of my go-tos is I just come down and I'm like,
that sounds killer.
and then you got I mean, there is no mistaking the sound of this guitar.
No, I don't know if I can play it right now, but I mean, you know the ending of it. I mean, I just know a couple licks on it, but I mean, I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's what locked up one notch. I think it is.
Yeah, he goes up one. Yep. Yeah, that was Summer Nights. For years and years and years and years, I had tried to learn the riffs to Summer Nights on a different guitar with a capo on it, and I was never fast enough to get the capo off and make it sound, you know, as cool as it was supposed to be. So when I first got this guitar, that was the first song that I was like, okay, I'm going to learn how to play this. So I got it down, except for the solo stuff. You know, I can't play Eddie's solos.
It's just so off the cuff, and they're always different.
Yeah. But what I really liked about Summer Nights was just the groove that you get into with that one.
Oh, yeah.
So after I learned Summer Nights, I was like, okay, Fire in the Hole has always been one of my favorite, you know, riffs. Well, all of them, but Fire in the Hole was the second one that I learned. And actually, you mentioned Brad Boland earlier, and I saw that he had played it. And I kind of watched what he was doing. And because there's nowhere that you can really find the tablature or anything to tell you how to play it on this stupid thing, because it's all
how to play it on a regular guitar.
They tell you how to do it on a regular guitar. So I think I've gotten pretty close. Sometimes it's hard to tell when you're even transposing and changing keys
I know,
because
it is.
he was just a master at doing that with
Pleasure
with his-
Dome too.
Do you know some of that? I haven't even tried to figure that out.
The problem is I'll play a song for like a month and then I don't come back to it for like 3 years. And I'm like, I mean, I can sit down, but if I sit down and dedicate a couple hours, I can figure something out. But I think somebody was saying something to you, one of your last shows, the harmonics at the end of Summer Nights.
It's so cool. It's so cool.
They're so fun, but I mean, if that's the problem with these toys. It's so hard to sit down and play a regular song on them. You know? I mean, unless you want to go live without a net. I mean, I better lock it right one. I mean, he did do that live without a net, didn't he?
Yep. Yeah. And he would do all the little, the bends and so forth, and like you were talking about. So it was a little bit different on the Steinberger.
Yeah. Amanda, what's your go-to guitar when you sit down and play? Like, when you sit down and just jam and are just like, I don't want to say practicing because nobody really practices, but what's your favorite guitar to just play?
Uh-oh, she's muted.
Muted myself. So I've always been a Strat player, but I obviously love humbuckers. So I'm the Eddie mix where it's like I want the feel of a Strat, but I want the sound of a Gibson. So my guitars are always the guitars I total Eddie thing where you rip them all apart and then you now you have a million parts and you put it back together. So honestly, any of my Strats are my go-tos. I've had my first Strat actually that I ever got. I play it all the time. It's just I'm comfortable with it. I didn't even know Eddie played a Strat really. When I first got Van Halen one, it was just the CD, and I just picked out a guitar in an ad. So I was like, I really want this one. It turned out to be like this really rare 20th anniversary. They only made like 150 of them. I have it sitting over here, but it's just like super vibrant blue. And that's my go-to. I took out the pickups in it. It's got 78 at the bridge and then 276 for the neck and the mid. 76 because that's when Van Halen really started. 78 because that's when Van Halen 1 came out. So I'm even nerdy with my gear. That's my go-to. But now that I have my own collection, it's not as cool as having a giant Edward Van Halen collection, but I have a 1965 Epiphone Olympic double, and I really love that. It's very thin. It's very resonant, and I can play a lot of clean stuff. Peter Green is also one of my favorite players.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, so I kind of play all sorts of stuff, but I gravitate towards Strats.
Yeah, I would say me too. The Strat for me is still the most comfortable. I mean, the belly bevel in the back, it just fits better. It feels more balanced. I mean, I love the Wolfgangs and I love the Music Mans and I love the necks on the Music Mans, but for me, just a Strat with a low action and a Floyd is like magic for me. What about you, R2? What's your go-to?
Man, Strats are, this is going to sound strange, but I'm going to say it. Strats are like getting close with a girl when you're dancing. It just fits. When you're just, whatever dance you're doing, you're getting really close to your girl.
Well, you know what
That's
they
a
say,
Strat, man.
You know what they say, R2? Spooning leads to forking.
Hey now.
Yeah.
So yeah, no. the Strat is very close to home to me. But the guitar I lean towards to the most is my Wolfgang Standard because it has that cutaway, that bevel for the armrest. It sounds great. I have a Wolfgang Standard that I bought back in 2018. I paid $300 for it.
Wow.
Whoa.
It was like a birthday gift to myself. I went there and I just found the right one without even plugging it in. I don't plug them in. I play it acoustically and see if it resonates and see if it fits. And it just did. And then my other one, my other go-to guitar is my Made in Japan Wolfgang, 2011. It's awesome. Love it. Stainless steel frets. But if I want to go heavy rock and metal, I have a Jackson custom shop, Jackson Kelly neck through. But we're not here to talk about shredding. But when it comes to the Van Halen guitars, my two Wolfgangs. I do have a 2010 USA Wolfgang. That's another go-to guitar that I upgraded to German Floyd Rose FU tone parts. So my three Wolfgangs, believe it or not, with my big fingers, I call them my Paul Gilbert fingers, but I can't play like Paul Gilbert. The R2 nuts are narrow, but I love playing them. I've gotten accustomed to it. I'm so used to the R3 nuts. For all those people that don't know about the R2, R3 locking nuts, that's my name. That's how this all came about. That's how I came up with the name because I was trying to. People think it's related to Star Wars, but it is somewhat with R2D2. But those are the two guitars that I'm used to: the R2 and the R3 locking nuts of the R4. So we can get into that. That's another show. But right there, the Wolfgangs.
Now I talked to Ryan the other day. We were talking about how we like our action set for playing. I mean, I like a nice low action. It's just easier to play for me, and I know a little bit higher kind of gets the harmonics. Maybe you can, if you're doing tapping stuff, I guess you can. They ping out a little bit better. But I like a nice low action myself, and I know Ryan likes a low action, but he likes it just a little higher so he can kind of get a little bit better bite on them. What about you guys? What about you, Amanda? What do you like for an action and R2? What's your style?
R2, I'll let you go first.
All right. Well, it depends on the fretboard radius. So if you have a flat radius like my Jacksons, or the custom Jackson that I have is like a 15, 16 fretboard radius flat. Low action is great. You don't really have to press real hard. You can just kind of fly over the fingerboard. When you start going into the strats, they start going into the 10s and 12 fretboard radius. A little bit action, higher up action, just to get underneath and get the strings to bend. I love bending strings and vibratos. So if you're a shredder and if you're looking for notes, then low action's great. But to get that, just to grab the notes, a little bit, the action a little bit higher, just to get your fingers underneath there and just bend them and shake them. I just love it like that.
Yeah, that's funny because I know the Bill Kelly, the lead guitarist for Van Hagar, my friend. I mean, he's a big dude, but I mean, he's like, I don't know how you play those guitars or those low action. I'm like, I don't know how you. I mean, it's freaking he plays 10s on a Floyd, and the action is like a mile off the fretboard, but he's got these big freaking Shrek sausage fingers.
Yeah.
So they're like, he's like wicked strong fingers, but he smokes and just shreds. I mean, it's like, whoa, even on a low action, I'd be like, the guy's incredible player. And he plays in a Pantera tribute band too. So he's just, he's incredible. But the amount of notes that guy puts on that fretboard, that thing is on fire. And it's just amazing that somebody can do that on 10s on a Floyd with wicked high action. I don't get it. It's really impressive. But his thing was, he's like, I always grew up with shitty guitars, pieces of shit, when nobody set them up right. So that's what I learned on. So I guess if you get used to that, it makes sense. I've never asked I think Kurt is like me. He likes a nice low action. I think Jay is the same. The one thing I've never asked Caleb is what kind of an action he prefers, because he's incredible too. I would say probably a lower action, but I'm not 100% sure. What about you, Amanda?
I'm with R2, R3, and I like that little space so I can really do the bends. I learned how to play the blues first, and in fact, my dad bought me my first guitar was an acoustic, and the action was so off. It was, like the strings are so far away, and the first thing I tried to do, obviously, when I got that guitar was tap. And so I just got used to hitting really hard. So if it's too low, it's almost like I can't do it.
Yeah.
I'm used to it. Yeah. So it's just I gotta have a little bit higher, not too high, but not too low either.
Caleb says he likes low as possible.
Yeah. Yep. That's about what I figured.
Yeah, no, it's great. When I was 16 years old, my best friend, his brother, this is what really got me into playing guitar. His name is Chris, and he had a Martin acoustic guitar, and I remember playing that acoustic guitar and trying to just fret the basic, the cowboy chords. And I remember just trying to press down on these strings. And I didn't understand at that time the height, what was what. I just remember he was showing me certain chords, and I was watching him play, and I'm like, man, my fingers hurt so much. But he would play Spanish Fly, anything Van Halen, anything on electric that Eddie would do on the acoustic, and just watching him in amazement. I couldn't believe it, man. I would go home every day and go, I just want to play, because Chris can play anything on acoustic. And I realized on the acoustic guitar, it was so harder when he would just do these just hammer-ons and taps and just the legato. And I was like, holy cow, does he do that?
Yeah.
And I would go over there. Just that, you guys know what I'm talking about. When you play an acoustic guitar and then you go to an electric, the electric feels like spaghetti. It feels like it's like your fingers got the workout already and you're warmed up.
And that is the one reason why I love. This is the only acoustic. Yeah, acoustic. This is the only acoustic guitar I own, and it's a Kramer Farrington. And I tell you, and it's probably not in tune. Well, it's actually not too bad. But I tell you that it's got an electric guitar neck on it.
Yeah.
And it probably doesn't ring out like a Martin or whatever, but I'll tell you, this is a great acoustic guitar, and it's you can actually play electric stuff on this.
Yep.
And I got this a long time ago, and I love it. I really do.
I recently had this guitar. Let me come in here.
That's awesome. Paint job, man.
Yeah.
Everybody's seen this one, I'm sure.
That was at the EVH Con a few years ago.
Not this guitar.
Gosh, I tell you, it was the same. Somebody did an exact duplicate of that.
I've had this guitar for several years. Since about 2009. I had this done.
Gosh, who the heck did this same exact guitar? I wonder who that was.
It may have been done by the same artist, because he did do one on a Charvel. Do you remember if it was a Charvel or a Kramer?
I don't recall, Ryan. It might have been a Charvel, but I know it was the exact fair warning body. That is so cool.
So I recently had stainless steel frets put on this one, and you can see my action here.
Or how low can you go?
Maybe you can't.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we gotta. Yeah.
You had it right there before.
Yeah, I had it, and then it disappeared. Let me try that again.
Oh, that is so cool. How long you had that one, Ryan?
Since about 2009.
There it is.
There you go.
There it is.
So that's where I like my action.
Yep. That looks about like mine.
Oh yeah, that's how I have my Charvel.
Just enough to kind of get your meat of your fingers under it, but
Sure.
Low enough that you don't have to really work too terribly hard.
Jay says Rob has all those beautiful guitars hanging on those god awful painted walls. What color is that retirement home? Yellow. Oh,
I think,
Jay, so
I
right.
think if I had that many guitars that were that nice, I wouldn't give a crap about the color of the wall either.
Well,
So
see, that's why I try to jam as much stuff as I can on these walls, with pictures and guitars and whatever. But the funny thing is I've been in this condo for 3 years, and when I walked down here when I first bought it, I was like, ugh, gross. I'm like, okay, I got all this other stuff I got to do to move in. I'm like, what do I want to do? Do I want to paint the walls, or just put the 2x4s up and set the? I'm like, I wonder if I like plaster as many guitars on the wall that I can, if it'll hide it. But I think when I do make a move, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stripe my walls.
right.
There you go. That's what Jay just said. Dude, stripe those walls, he says.
You gonna do it white and black, or are you gonna do it the red, white, and black?
It'll be red, white, and black. It'll be red, white, and black, and I'll do it myself, and it's probably going to happen within the next 6 months. So, because I'm going to have more space. So, who was asking me before, what's your next guitar? I don't know. I'll tell you in 6 months.
Right. I'm sure there'll be another one. I'm sure.
I don't know about one, but there'll be more.
We got Rob. What's your favorite tuning?
Rob Johnson.
It's funny. I have probably about half of my guitars are tuned standard, and the other half are E flat.
E flat.
It all kind of just depends what I'm in the mood for. When I had my Burritos guitar, I had that tuned in the as is tuning, which is kind of fun enough to play.
Sorry, I'm not laughing at you, Rob. I'm laughing at Boner Jams here.
So what comment are you talking about?
Before Jay stripes his pants. I just remember Jay wearing those like red, white, and black pants.
Before.
Oh yeah. He got the V8 store women's leggings.
Right? Did you remember that?
Yeah, and he got the extra large size, so they didn't look totally. But I was actually going to do that too. I was actually going to get like an extra large pair, so they'd have like a little bit of
little bit of give.
And everybody's silent, like
right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Maybe I won't. Amanda's
so,
like, what's the matter with these guys?
Is talking about tunings, is your Ripley guitar tuned to top Jimmy tuning?
It might have been at one point, but I have not touched that guitar probably in a couple years. So I don't think it's set to any tuning right now. Actually, I take that back. No, it's no. I put a different Floyd on that guitar a few months ago. Now I remember, because I had an EVH Floyd on it, and I put an original German Floyd on it.
Gotcha.
And I tuned it standard, so that's tuned to standard.
Cool.
What about you guys? What's your favorite tunings?
Question for Amanda: what's your go-to tuning?
Curtis drop B.
It just depends on what I'm playing, really. Standard typically, or I play drop D.
Well, you said you're a V8 a Van Halen 1 album fan, so that's dropped down half a step for most of it.
Yeah.
Which reminds me of something. We're obviously TransTrem Thursday, so going to get back on a TransTrem subject here. Something that I tried with this guitar is I took and I tuned it to a drop D, and then I calibrated it for a drop D. And wouldn't you know it, it goes through the ranges and it stays in tune with the drop.
Does it?
Top string.
Oh, man.
Whoa, that's cool.
You should try that with yours sometime.
I always wanted to ask you that, if you did a different.
I did that to this at one point.
Will it stay in pitch?
Mm-hmm. So as long as you calibrate it properly, like you would normal tuning,
Nice.
But you calibrate it to the proper, where it should be.
Right.
You can have a drop tune TransTrem that will change tunings for you. So you can go to drop C or whatever.
That is actually cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I had never, there's only 2 of us on YouTube that have these. So I've never seen anybody do it. Never heard anybody try it. I was like, what the hell? I'm going to try it. And it freaking works.
Excuse me 1 second, guys. I'll be right back.
You know, it's funny, Ryan, because you're one of the only ones that's actually done any type of tutorial videos on these TransTrems. And I mean, I've been setting mine up for years, and knowing that when you calibrate it, I mean, when you standard tune it, you always lock it in standard and tune it standard, and then when you change the strings, you want to calibrate it. You lock it up one step and adjust it with with the knobs, then lock it down 2 steps and use the jaw.
Mhm.
And a lot of people think, oh, these things are crazy to set up and so incredibly difficult. They're really not.
Mm-mm.
They're so simple. I mean,
Yeah.
really, well, I don't know if I'd use the word simple, but once you get used to it, they're not hard. You just have to repeat that process a handful of times. Like, to me, working on a Floyd Rose is the easiest thing. I can set the action on a Floyd exactly how I like it and do it every single time. I can't tell you how many people's guitars I've worked on, and I'll give it back to them like, whoa, this bridge feels like butter. It's like,
Mhm.
and once you get used to something, it's not really that hard. And I know people that say they're just so difficult.
I would rather set one of these up than I would a floating Floyd.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so much easier than a floating Floyd.
Yeah.
You just don't know. Yeah, it's like you say, once you get used to it, you understand how it works.
Well, people just don't know. They're scared of them because they hear how difficult they are. And if you don't really understand it, people are afraid of things they don't understand. But once you get used to it, it's like you said, it's not bad at all.
Mm-hmm. 7/8 saying he thinks that the neck looked a little misaligned on the other guitar. Might need to. No, it's straight. Trust me, it's straight.
It's straight.
It may be the way I was holding it on the camera, but
Rob, I mentioned this before on Ryan's show here, but about the TransTrem and how people were, even with Floyd's, how some individuals are scared to set up a Floyd. They don't want to deal with it. They don't know how to, I don't know how to intonate it. I break a string, it goes out of tune. I don't know what to do. Right. TransTrem was one of those guitars that I think people would sell the guitars because they didn't know what to do with them. Who would fix them if they were to break?
Well, like Ryan's guitar, that's how he ended up getting his.
Yeah, right there. Just act like, oh man, this is terrible. What am I going to do? Yeah, you got to give me a deal on this. But I'm sure you heard of the Evertune system. The Evertune, where everything just stays in tune no matter what. If you hear musicians go on tour and all the climate changes, and they say they grab the guitar and it stays in tune. I always thought that was the same thing as far as a comparison, as far as individuals finding that, that guitar, that should I buy one of these systems? But I noticed that it's hitting big. The Evertune, it's a big hit. People are buying them and using them and getting used to the, there's YouTube. Now you have YouTube to adjust, and what do I do? How do I adjust this if I want to drop down in a whole pitch, a half a pitch? Before, nobody had anything to go off of with the TransTrem. That's why when I would look up TransTrem, you would come up, Rob, and Ryan and some other individuals, and that's it. And it's like, okay, nobody wants to talk about this.
So for years, 20 years, over 20 years, I've been using this thing that I printed off a computer back in 1999.
I know that picture well.
Yeah, right. And it talks about, I made these marks years and years and years ago. It talks about how to calibrate it, how to tune it, how to change the strings, and it's simple shit. It's so easy. And I remember, from adjusting the big tension knob back here, balancing it out and zeroing it. I mean, it's as simple as just setting the bar and the notch to standard, tuning it, letting the bar go, and then just, if it goes flat or it goes sharp, you just adjust that knob until it balances out. And then it's just, if you take the time to really understand it, it's not hard. And I think people genuinely, and this goes in life too, they don't like things they don't understand. And once they understand them, then they kind of tend to, work with it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But
Have an aha moment.
But isn't it something though, when you look at these bridges? I mean, how the fuck could anyone have ever thought of that, of engineering that thing?
That for the longest time, I thought that. I still say that. I'm like, Ned Steinberger was a freaking genius to come up with what he did there. Totally. And I thought that they were way more complicated than they are. I've got the video where I took one apart, and I was learning, as I was going. So I wanted to record it and show it to everybody else because I couldn't find any information anywhere about, how they worked, what you needed to do to maintain it. Nothing. I took it to a guitar shop and I'm like, would you be willing to take them? And they're like, nope, don't want nothing to do with that. So I'm like, fine, I'll tackle it myself,
Wouldn't you like to be the guy sitting there in the control room or just watching Eddie jam when he first picked up that thing? I mean, the guy's
I've always heard that when Ned Steinberger gave the guitar to Ed, he said he was the first one that understood what to do with it. Yeah. He just immediately started doing exactly what he had envisioned.
And then look at the things that he came up with, those tunes. And I think that's why people just didn't do anything with it. Why would you even want to touch Eddie?
What's funny too, because Eddie didn't even know what the name. If you listen to the Steve Rosen interview he did in 1986, now he'd been playing this thing since 1984. He was playing a bass Steinberger in 1984 on the '84 album, and then at some point in the end of 1984, he got two of these. He got two GL2Ts, both with black faceplates, and Jim O'Connor painted the first faceplate, and then he kept the second faceplate black. And the second one was the one that he played at the grand opening of Cabo Wabo in 1990, because he had the black one he played. Yep. And the interesting thing was, if you listen to that interview, Steve Rosen and Steve's a great guy, I know him pretty well, is asking him about songs, and Eddie's like, yeah, the song on 5150 Summer Nights, and doing the thing of the Wiggle Bar, and what's that thing called? I don't remember what the fuck it's called. He goes, TransTrem, that's what it is. He'd been playing the thing for years. He didn't know what the fuck thing was even called. Yeah.
Just knew what to do with it.
Yeah, and then you listen to Sammy Hagar when he's being interviewed by Eddie Trunk and all this after Eddie passed, and they're asking, they've done it like 2-3 times, and they're asking him, what was it like when you first, met the band? We've all heard the story a million times, but Sammy's talking about, I went up to the house and Eddie showed me this guitar and it's got this capo thing. I don't know what the fuck they call it. Like, whatever. I don't know. And it goes, and he's doing all this stuff. Like, and the funny thing is, the people that did all this stuff, they don't even know what the fuck the name of the thing is. Mm-hmm. They don't even know what the name of it is. And it's so ironic that the nerds like us can tell you every little thing about it, how to take it apart. And the people that made the magic with it, they don't even know what the name of it is.
Yeah. He just knew exactly what to do with it, for sure.
So random,
Yep. Yep.
It's hilarious.
It's awesome.
I've often wondered why, the guitar player that plays with Sammy, occasionally they'll do Summer Nights, and he plays it, differently. He's figured out, like, why not go ahead and get a TransTrem? I'm sure you can figure that out, right? I mean, why wouldn't he do that?
I think Vic Johnson's probably got enough money to buy one. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I don't know why he doesn't go get one.
Yeah. I mean, nothing sounds like the TransTrem for those songs. It's unmistakable.
And how many people out there that are guitar players that play in bands? I mean, I can't tell you how many people that I know that are in bands that I've watched, in my area and whatever. You tell them about this guitar and they're like, whoa, what's that thing? Mm-hmm. Successful guitar players, they have no idea what the TransTrem is, and these things they just never really got to their full potential. I mean, and again, I think it's because people don't understand it.
They don't understand it. I think what scared people were the headless headstock.
Yeah,
right.
You know what I mean?
It's a broomstick. It looks like a broomstick.
Yeah,
the paddle.
That's why they call it a broomstick. You sweep the floor with the thing.
Yeah, but me and you know how these work, and it's almost to the point where you understand that it has to be this kind of unless there was some kind of way to, always get the string to the absolute perfect length that it should be, you understand why it's the headless double ball, because this one does calibrate perfectly, where the other one with the locking nut, it's, you have to be precise with where those jaws are, or it won't be, correct.
Are you sitting in Eddie's house?
I had to move it to a different room.
Amanda, have you ever played a TransTrem?
I have not. I've seen the guitar in person, but I haven't played one.
They're just so strange. And the funny thing is when you hit a chord and you just start messing with that bar, like Eddie always said, it sounds like you're playing slide, but it's just everything goes. It's canned in such a way that everything just goes up and down in tune with each other. It's like I was telling Ryan, it's the most ingenious thing. It really is. I don't know how anybody ever could have engineered that, but Eddie always said in interviews, Ned Steinberger was such an engineer. He over-engineered everything. So he's like, Eddie actually went on record saying that this was difficult to play, this particular model. That's why he had Ned make him one of these. He says that in the Guitar Aficionado magazine, I think it was. He goes, I played a different one for summer nights, but it was difficult to play. So I had Ned make me that one. And then he also had the Fire in the Hole ones, the PVs, that he used. Then he had another one on Pleasure Dome. It was a tan, if you have those, I have a picture of it in one of the magazines, the Young Guitar magazines. He played it was a Steinberger, but the Stratty type looking body. That's the one that it was a tan colored one that he used on Pleasure Dome. So I think he had a handful of these things over the years,
Very cool.
Now, when you guys pick up your TransTrem guitars here, do you ever want to put like a Dago tee on, like a tank top on, and just
get the pink the pink pillow pants or whatever? Yeah. Relive the 80s.
Well,
I think honestly, I think Rob just went to change into his.
Well, if you know Lewis from Fairfield Guitar, he can get you one of these things that he wore on his belt.
There you go.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The 5150. This is the actual belt that he wore.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah. He actually made the damn thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Somebody was asking the pickups. They are EMGs. Yes. And I think that they're
81s, right?
81. Yeah, that's in here.
And see, that's the reason why I have 81 on my 91 Jackson USA Rhodes, because I'm like, I can't have a Steinberger, but
you can have the pickups.
I can have the pickups.
Yeah, I think all of it kind of adds up to give it that particular growl that it has, Unmistakable. See that big smile again? I mean, that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
Love this thing. Obviously, that's why I, have a show on YouTube called TransTrem Thursdays, because I love these things.
So every time someone comes to visit the Van Halen Museum here, or every time I go to EVH Con, people are like, "Hey, Rob, bring the Dragon Snake, bring this. Every time, bring the GL2T." And I'll tell you, there's a bunch of little children in a candy store all gathered around. They're all sitting there like huge giggle. It's like giving someone a fully automatic weapon for the first time to shoot. And you hand them a machine gun, and they're like, brrr, and they turn around, they give it that big, huge smile. It's so fun. They're just fun to play with, And they have, like you said, a distinctive sound,
Yep. Yeah. Well, gentlemen,
if you brought
and
Dragon Snake, I would freak out.
if you do,
No
what?
one ever has a Dragon Snake
This
guitar.
Dragon Snake.
No one ever has it.
And tell a story about that real quick. The artist that did that.
Let me grab it. Hold on.
I saw that in the wall, and I was like, "Do you seriously have the Dragon Snake?"
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh man.
I'm
No one
pretty
has
sure.
Rob Blackmore, have a good night, man.
Have a good night, man.
See you, Rob.
So this
Was it-
guitar is one that I never really thought I would ever do. I mean, years ago, nobody could do these things. There wasn't really. I mean, you could do them, but a guy by the name of Jeff Rich, RCA.
Okay. Yep. That's what I thought. Jeff is the one that painted my Fair Warning guitar.
Yes, and you know what, Ryan, he painted the one that the guy had at EVH Con too.
Okay. There you go.
And
Mine was first though. I came up with the artwork and where I wanted things placed, and then he told me that he was going to do another one, and that was going to be the only one that he did. So
yeah, well, yours was the original for sure. This would have been about 3 years ago. 3 years ago at EVH Con, and I was like, "Whoa, look at that Fair Warning guitar."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jeff was the one that did that, and that guy is absolutely incredible. He does some amazing work. I've seen some of his Frankenstein guitars, and so about how long ago was it? 4 years ago, a friend of mine, Chris, had one of these done, and he goes, "Dude, you got to get a Dragon Snake." And I'm like, "Really?" It's like, "Geez, I never thought I'd have one of those." So I reached out to Jeff, and he was like, "Hey, Rob, yeah, I've seen your stuff, whatever. Yeah, I'll do one for you." So I got the neck, and Chris Locke built the body. It was a custom body, and it actually even has you can see the dragon or the head on the snake is kind of bent, and that's how it's supposed to be. A lot of people make them when they're straight, but they're not. Eddie like that, and he cut the body and he sent it to Jeff, and I painted the headstock myself black because I wanted it to look like that, 79 era.
And a nice job you did.
Yeah, and Eddie's original did not have a Floyd on it. It does now. It has a black Floyd, but it had I think it was like a Schaller V-Trem. But what I did is I did like an FTR Type 1 style because it didn't have the fine tuners, and I painted the base plate to look like a V-Trem. And then I put the gold tip on the on the bar. And Jeff basically knocked this out, and it is absolutely mind-boggling because it looks just like Eddie's. He did an amazing job on it. So I got the parts, I got all the hardware, and I put it together. I mean, I don't know if you can see, but even the detail with the scales and everything, it's incredible.
Jeff is one of the best artists I've ever seen.
Incredible. It took him over a year to do this, and I was amazed. Now, guy by the name of John Sterry is the guy that painted this and did the work for Ed back in the 70s, and he had John Sterry right here. So I told Jeff, I said, instead of doing it that way, I want you to do it exactly how his looked, but I want you to put your name on it. So I had him do Jeff Rich right there.
That's very cool.
And this guitar used to be, or not this one in particular, but Ed's was a Gibson Explorer, I think it was. Was it a Gibson? No, it was a Charvel Explorer, I think it was, or something like that. It was a black guitar, and there's pictures of him. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was an Explorer style body. And this John Sterry guy, who's a furniture maker, did the modification to the body and painted it. And so this is the Dragon Snake. There's not a lot of these out there.
Yeah, super awesome, dude.
But yeah, cool guitar.
And that neck ended up on the Frankie, and that's one of my favorite versions of the Frankie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, totally.
And actually, Jeff's personal Frankie, that's his favorite version as well. So he has the same neck on his guitar, and on Jeff's Frankie that he has a Floyd Rose that I gave him off of an old 83, 84 Kramer. So that that was some of the payment, towards some of the artwork he did for me. So that's kind of cool how all these kind of things are coming back around with similarities and stuff that we've got. So now we have two different guitars that you and I own, the GL2Ts that were worked on by the same guy, and now my Kramer and your Snake guitar that were worked on by the same guy. Isn't that funny?
It's crazy.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. I used to do a lot of stuff myself, and I still do. As I get older, I'm like, when I started doing this stuff, there's only a handful of us out there that did them. There was me, Scott, Jerry, a couple of others. And, as years go on, these younger guys come out. I don't know how old Jeff is, but, like Nick Amendola, Chris Hubbard, those kind of guys. And there's others. Neil Daly is incredible too. A lot of these guys, just came out of nowhere and they're like knocking this shit out of the park. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing this for? I'm not doing this anymore. I'll just do it. I don't have the patience to do it. I got other shit to do.
Yep.
So I just let them do it now. And every once in a while I'll do one myself because I still enjoy it.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
my star guitar, I did that one. There's a whole bunch of these I did do myself. But these guys today, I'll tell you, they're just incredible. But Jeff, no doubt, is just an incredible artist. And the detail that goes into these things is, that Fair Warning guitar, I don't even know how you would do that. No idea.
He was very meticulous with it. I think I have some pictures that he sent me, the artwork that he did. He did it on paper first. And obviously he laid it out over the guitar to see the shape and the size that it would need to be. And he rough sketched it on the paper first to make sure that everything lined up where he wanted to. And he is just a badass artist. Watched him with his, he does airbrush and he does a lot of it by hand with some of the detailed work. Just phenomenal. And I found him because what was the site that I found him on? And I don't remember the site, but it just happened. We started talking and I was like, dude, you live, 45 minutes from me. And he was like, come on over. So yeah, that's how I met Jeff. And it was nice to be able to bring it over, talk to him, sit and watch him work. Just phenomenal artist. Yeah.
That's wild, man.
Thank you, Caleb. I like your dragon snake too. Inside. I don't know what your dragon snake looks like, but I'll use my imagination.
Hey now.
Hey, right.
Dwight Bailey. What's up, Dwight Bailey?
I got a message here. Just let me. Typically, it would be ending up here pretty soon because I think Laz goes live at 10:30. I don't want to step on his toes, but Johnny's messaging me. Let me see if Laz is going live. I could go for another couple hours talking about all this stuff. I don't know about you guys, but
as long as the vodka's coming, I can keep on rolling.
All right. Well, let's figure out what's going on with Laz.
What's up, Johnny? How are you doing? I haven't talked to Johnny in a while.
Yeah, he's thinking.
We're always liking each other's stuff on Facebook and all that, but I like it. It's been, we haven't caught up. Dwight, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, let's see what's going on in the chat. I see a lot of new faces in here.
Michael B. Live. What's going on, man?
Got Danny Jacks. Good to see you in. New face.
Someone earlier asked me if I was going to play, and no.
That was that was Bonner Jams.
You have to know Amanda for at least 6 months, and then she might let you hear her play for like 3 seconds.
Like solid 3. I was playing guitar yesterday, and my boyfriend brought out his phone and was video recording it, and he's like, "Do you see this? I can't believe this is happening."
Symmetry, good to see you.
What's up, brother? What's that, Rob?
We got another visitor.
Someone's ringing the doorbell.
All the way from somewhere in California. I don't know what it is. We have Mr. Johnny Bean.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, he brings his own audience with him. What's going on, man?
What's up, dudes? There we go. So, I just walked in the door, literally.
Awesome. So we were just about to wrap up because we thought Laz was about to start. Do you know if he's going live tonight or?
He is.
He
He is.
Okay.
Yeah. He sent me a link, so I'll be there.
Okay.
But hey, Rob, dude,
What's up, Johnny? How you doing, buddy?
I'm great, man.
Hey, have you
Dude.
seen this one yet?
No. Well, actually, I've seen the real thing, but no, I've never seen that one. I actually saw Sammy play the actual guitar one time.
Yeah. Guy
Very
Fieri
cool.
owns the real one, doesn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Amanda.
What's up?
Hey, how are you? R2.
What's up, Johnny?
R2. Have we actually met on one of these? I don't
now.
remember.
Yeah, back
Johnny,
in the
remember
Ben,
days-
back in the Ben Coombs days.
Yeah.
Ah.
Johnny, remember the days back in 16 when you and I and Dave were doing the show.
Yeah, I hung
and-
out with
and
you.
Art
And,
was popping in. He was in there all the time. He was in the chat. Like,
Okay. Well, no, I mean on video. I don't know if I've
know if
actually
you-
said hi to you on video. I mean, I've seen you. You guys, for those guys who don't know, R2 is probably, aside from Rob, R2 has been watching these videos for 5 years, 6 years. I don't know. We're going on what, Rob? 8 years? 9 years?
I've been watching you guys
8, 9
since
years.
2016, 2017.
Oh my gosh!
I was in Chicago with my ex-girlfriend at the time. We were at a wedding. And,
How many ago was that, Rob? Come on. No.
Johnny and I was in the hotel room. She was in her phone. It was 2016. And Johnny and I had been friends since 1999 in the old Van Halen trading VH.
Yeah, we go back a long time.
Long time. And then for some reason, I can't remember if he reached out to me or I reached out to him.
Yeah.
Guitars.
I reached out to you because what happened was, really quickly, Rob and I used to do Skype calls
Yeah.
every 6 months or something. We would just talk, and we would talk this stuff, right? And then you guys know the story. I was on a show called Huffington Post Live with Andy Summers and all this, and then I got the idea of doing a show, and Nesdal and I had just become friends, and we used to talk on the phone, and so we started doing these shows, talking guitars, Van Halen, all this. Everybody does this stuff now, but so anyway, so I told Nesdal, I'm like, hey, I know this guy named Rob Johnson. You know, we talk every once in a while. Let's get him on board. And I remember exactly sitting in my car and you calling me and us talking, and then next thing you know, you were on, and
Yeah, and the first show that I did, because we were in Chicago, or I was in, well, we were, but I was sitting on the bed, and we're like, hey, let's do this. Yeah, that sounds cool. And then I can't remember what day it was. It was a Monday, Wednesday, or a Friday. And the first show
Yes.
I did with you guys, I had my GL2T on.
yes,
You were like,
exactly.
hey,
I remember.
want to see that. That was
We used to do 3 shows a week then. Now I do almost a daily show, but yeah, Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays.
Back then, it was called Google Hangouts, right? Wasn't it Google Hangouts?
That's what we used.
Yeah.
Google Hangouts. And then when that went away, I remember telling Rob and Dave, I'm like, we got to look for another way to do this.
Yeah.
And then we found StreamYard, and
Yeah.
you know.
If you scroll back in Johnny's videos back to 2016, January 16, I think it was, you'll see that first video that I did with those guys. And that's when I first started. I'm like, okay, this sounds cool. It was fun. It was a great time. I'm like, whoa, like people actually want to see us knuckleheads talk about this crap. And like, it's just exploded since then, you know?
Yep. Well, speaking of everybody's channel, through the chat, Nightbot has been putting up Rob Johnson's YouTube channel. So if you're not subscribed to Rob, go check him out on his link.
Shame on you if you're not.
R2R3's link has been going through there. Everybody's already subscribed to Johnny, I'm sure. But check out Johnny at Johnny Bean if you're not. And then Laz, I think if I do this. See, I learned from the best. I learned from Johnny with all this stuff here. Laz will be going live. There he is. There's his channel. If you guys want to check out Laz, he's going to be going live right now. So I don't want to step on any toes. So appreciate.
Supposedly, do a raid.
I'm not.
Do you
sure
have the
that
link?
I can do that.
All you gotta do is put the link for his show coming up in your chat. Have everybody click that link, and they'll head right over to his show.
Well, let me find that real quick.
Is he live?
I got to bounce, but I will probably see if I can catch it. But I got some other items I got to tend to. But
There it is. Share, copy.
Johnny, we need to catch up. We got to.
Are you going to be at NAMM? Are you going to be there?
In June?
No, next month.
No, I just
April,
got
yeah,
back
April.
from LA.
I know.
I don't think my job's going to let me. And I meant to hang out with Steve Rosen, and we were texting, and we just couldn't make it happen. There's just so much going on. I had so much stuff jammed in 4 days, but I will make the next one. I'll make the next one for sure.
Cool. Well, definitely, we got to do something, man.
Yeah.
And,
Even if it's a show, we gotta. Thank you, Ryan. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate you coming on, man. Like I said, I've seen you on YouTube for years. Seeing that you were the other dude on YouTube that had the GL2T, I had to find you and get you on here and do this. So
Who's that other dude?
yeah, the dude.
Who's
I was
that good-looking
jealous of.
guy, man?
Yeah, exactly. So no, thank you. Well, definitely gonna have to do it again. I had a blast, and like I said, I could go for another couple hours, but I don't want to step on Laz's toes. I know a lot of these people here, want to go to Laz's shows, so.
You want to see Fernando?
Yeah, we want to see if Fernando has survived. So let's do it again. If
I don't go and load some of this vodka pretty soon, I'm going to have a major flooding.
I got you. So thank everybody in the chat for joining in. I appreciate it. I had a blast. R2, R3,
Awesome.
Thank you. Amanda, as always, good to see you.
brother.
Ryan,
we'll
I just want to say thank you so much for having me on tonight. I really appreciate it, my friend.
Yeah.
I feel like
Thank you for coming. Yeah, thank
R2
you.
was great seeing you. Amanda,
Good to see you, brother. Yeah, man.
Yeah, and
And
Johnny,
Johnny.
will catch up.
Yeah, we'll see Johnny in just a minute over at Laz's. So thank everybody for coming, and we are out of here. So we'll see you
Thanks,
next
guys.
time.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night,
See ya.
everyone.
Bye-bye.